All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics Are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it is Friday, y'all know it is time for All Politics Are Local. But especially, y'all know if it is the third Friday, y'all know it is time for the Mayor's Forum with our beloved brother, Mayor Raz J. Baraka in the great city of Newark. Of course, he's going to be up first. We're going to get into some dynamite conversation with our brother. And then, of course, coming up at 7 o'clock, it's going to be our superintendent, our beloved brother, Roger León, who's going to stop by, and we're going to have some conversation with Brother León. John, you want to tell him who's coming up after that?
Absolutely. It's going to be a great show. And we have, after that, we have former Newark Public School students, Devin, Kyser, and Amit Kukreja coming back on. And they'll be talking about internet startups, tech startups that they're doing. Devin Kyser is going to be talking about cryptocurrency, and Amit Kukreja is going to be talking about the Audea, which is he calls it the YouTube of sound that he started and also just got seed investments for, and he's really excited about that. So this is going to be a real full night. We're going to have great conversations with the mayor, then great conversations with the superintendent of Newark Public Schools right before we start the new school year. We'll be talking about some recent controversies and really where the district is going, some of the things that the district is doing as well. So it's going to be a full hour with the superintendent of Newark Public Schools, Roger León, and full disclosure, I've known the superintendent since we were both 14. One of the hardest working people I ever met. So we're going to get into a really good conversation with him, and then at 7. We're going to have the tech startups. And then, of course, DJ Rhino at 7:30 with DJ Rhino in the State of Hip Hop. So it's a full night. We're going to have a lot of fun. And Ed, I'll bring it back. And hey, man, Zaid, how are you?
Peace, everybody. I apologize for getting on a couple minutes late. Just some tech issues. Juggling between two computers, and neither one of them wanted to work.
All right. Well, that always happens. But guess who's here, man?
Who's here? The great battle. You talking about Madam Donna Kay?
Yes.
Yes. Straight in from wherever she was at.
I came in at 5:59.
That's right.
That's absolutely true. That's another thing. That's like the third wonder of the world. She shows up right on time. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm grateful to be here. I've been bragging about All Politics Are Local. Happy to be able to share this platform with so many people and just let people know that we're bringing the issues right to them, right in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may be. So let's get started. Because I know after the mayor and the superintendent, when we talk about what's going on out in these streets, I want to talk about Liz Cheney. I was like, ugh.
Liz Cheney. Oh yeah. I know what you mean. With having lost the election.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about that right now, I think we might have a minute or so before the mayor gets here.
Okay, that the party she belongs to, they were going to come for her, but I happened to read a headline that her loss brings a silver lining. I'm sure that there are some people who are going to take this opportunity and pick her up. So I'm sure she's going to have a lot of opportunities to do other things. But what do you think about them, the party not getting behind her? We knew it was going to happen, but...
Oh, she's going to run for president. I think that she has a single-minded mission right now. Mm-hmm. And that is to deal with Trump. And it's wild, right? Because Liz Cheney is someone I would never vote for, right? Like, I would never vote for her. You would never vote for her. Most people, who are even a little bit progressive would never vote for her. She's like a real conservative. Like, she's a real conservative. There was a great picture of her when she was giving in the interview. Mm-hmm. And if you looked at her background, there were all these dead animals, right? Like the heads of all these dead animals, right? Mm-hmm. I think even Liz Cheney's going like, look, I just believe in democracy, but I ain't like you, right? But I believe in democracy. Mm-hmm. Right? I will kill animals. I will put their head on the walls. I believe in, what I need to do, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cat better be careful of be around Liz Cheney. Be that head on the wall, right?
Yeah,
But
I'd be the shot up behind.
but really, it's when she just stands for democracy, right? Like, and that's scary when someone who you would never agree with on most issues, you're like rooting for just because they believe that votes should count, that you shouldn't use violence in a regular election. Like, when you get to the extent, I've never in my lifetime heard so many people talk about the possibility of civil war in the United States. It's scary, right? Like, I mean, openly. I mean, people in the New York Times. I'm talking about people on PBS. I'm talking about like mainstream news media outlets are talking about that. Like, that's a real thing. And you have like, what was it? Close to 70%, like close to 70% of Republicans believe that Joe Biden stole the election. Like, I don't think we know how dangerous this is when you're like, he stole, like, I teach the Declaration of Independence. One of the founding principles of the United States is, hey, if you're not democratically elected, right? If you are stealing democracies, if democracy is not a thing, then the Declaration of Independence is a justification of political violence. It is a document that's like, when can you be violent? When is it justified to be violent? And if there's no democracy, in America, we say that's a justification to be violent. So when people are making up, right, that elections were stolen, they know they are getting people in a violent mindset. And they're getting a large group of white, gun-loving people a mindset that they are oppressed and are justified in using violence to stop that oppression.
And we had a preview, and it's possible because we had a preview on January 6th. That was the preview of what could be yet to come.
And it's not just, it didn't end with January 6th, right? Like, you had an FBI office shot up just last week, right? Like, you have these incidents of violence, whether it be these mass shooters that are politically motivated, right? Like, these things are not, I don't think these things are isolated. So when you're talking about like Liz Cheney losing by the amount that she lost, and that you have Republicans who used to be they used to be conservatives, right? But now they're talking about defund the FBI, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, right? It's not like that. I don't think about the history of the FBI and dealing with Black people and the Black Panthers, et cetera, right? It's not like we as Black people are like, FBI, always a wonderful organization, because there's always a history in dealing with different types of police organizations as they deal with Black people. That's just history, that these same white people who are talking about the, defund the FBI are the same people who don't want to teach the history of COINTELPRO, right? Which would actually be a reason to be suspect of the FBI, right? But they don't want to teach that history or deal with that. But those are the things that you were referencing before, Donna. So welcome.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Peace, man.
Peace.
How are you?
I'm good. How's everybody, man? How's everybody?
Everybody's good. Hey, Mayor.
Good.
How are you?
But, getting ready to start the new school year.
You already talk about that. And Mayor, you had your handfuls. You had 2 water main breaks in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
The
second one wasn't really major. It's that first one. I mean, we have water main breaks like once a month. People just don't know about them because it doesn't really affect a whole lot of folks. This big one affected so many different people.
Right.
Your new pipes are running into them old pipes, and we got to come back and talk about how your program is a national program now. So we need to let people know, something that you thought of in your office or down in the city of Newark is now being taught in DC. We have to talk about that one day. But now you're
Well,
gonna
we
talk
can
about going back.
No.
Go ahead. Go. Oh,
Right.
well, we thought we had the superintendent.
No, that's on that's 7
Okay.
o'clock.
Okay.
That's 7 o'clock.
Well,
Yeah.
well, just when you sit down and the water main breaks and you see this, and it just brings me to mind of what possibly could be happening. You have new infrastructure all around you running into old infrastructure. And I don't, like you said, you have it every day. That may not be the problem, but it always brings me back to mind that your program, that you took something and you brought a solution to everybody and said, hey, we can fix this and we can fix everybody, and we don't have to do it. The taxpayer, we can do it for the taxpayers as opposed to them, having to come out their pockets, because that's a very hard hit. When the water people go in and then they come back and they find a pipe with lead in it, and now you got phone call that turned into a $12,000 bill. So that was really serious. So we have to brag about that. And now it's a national program.
So what
Yeah, that's
program
right. It's national program.
What
you saying?
program is that? What program is that? Like you're saying there's a program
She's just talking about the lead service line. She's just talking about the lead service line stuff, brother. That's it. That we did the lead service line replacement and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what it is. And,
I know, but I wanted you to talk more specifically about it, because a lot of people don't know.
100 years old.
Oh, I'm saying a lot of people don't know. So
well, at this point, most people in the city know they got this. Well, most people know they got they lead service lines changed. That's for sure. And they didn't pay for it. I mean, that's the extent of it. And, around the country, people are not able to do it because of the capital that comes along with it. That's it. And the infrastructure is old all over America. We're talking about 100-year-old pipes. But what about the bridges you drive on and the highways that you're on, or the tunnel that you're in? I mean, that's why they're trying to do the Gateway Tunnel that Christie got in the way of, because the Holland and Lincoln Tunnel is not, as stable as they should be, which is scary to think of. But all this infrastructure is old, and it just didn't. People think these things are going to be around for eternity, but all this stuff has a life cycle. So the stuff have to be replaced all over the country. It's got to be replaced. So Newark, one of the oldest cities in America. So imagine when they first built the pipes, first installed those pipes, those things are still there. I mean, some of the pipes in Newark was lined with wood. And we were changing now. So we're changing pipes. But it's miles and miles and miles of and what people don't know is that Newark, it delivers water to all of these communities. We can actually turn a valve, that will shut water off to whole municipalities.
Right.
Wow.
Newark has that. And so when the water main break, you have to find out where the water is coming out, isolate the break, and then turn the water off from there and try to pull water from other places. We can do that because we have a complex system. But to turn the water off is a lot. You're talking about a valve that's, in diameter is very big. It's not a small, like you think in your sink or something like that. You're talking about a huge valve that you have to turn at least 200 times to get the water off.
Wow.
So and you have to do that in several areas to turn the water off, and then turn another valve to get water from that to go to to other places. So while Kareem was doing that, trying to get the water pressure up in different areas while they work on this pipe, the pressure caused another break in Velsburg area, and he had to fix that. And then there's another break that took place downtown Newark, which was just a fire line that broke. But they repaired this. All this stuff get repaired immediately. It took them less than 24 hours to repair to get water pressure back in to people's homes. Didn't get it to the level it needed to be. They had to continue to work on it and then change that pipe out. So they're still working on fixing that pipe and moving that car out of the ground. But that's the job you have to do when you have this infrastructure that looks like this in cities like Newark.
And
people take for granted.
And man, you if the person is up on Route, I think in 46, and they'll see a big sign that says City of Newark Water, but you're all the way
Yeah,
up in Morris County, they'll
yeah,
they'll begin the complexity of how that water gets from that location to to their faucets. It's a very
that's right.
complex.
Because that's where it's coming from. The
Mhm.
city owns land that's 3 times the size of the city of Newark
Mm.
in Morris County and areas out there that we have like 5 uh, pristine reservoirs. Pristine meaning it's not touched and it's nature, so it's natural reservoirs, and that's why it has to be treated because it's natural water. And you talk about birds and animals and leaves and all the other kind of stuff. So the water is treated and it comes all the way down, and it's basically built like gravity. So it comes downhill almost and right into the pipes here. And the pipe that broke was a major, like a 60-inch pipe that delivered water to Bloomfield, Belleville, Nutley, and Hillside. So all of those people were affected by that water main break.
So Newark actually, the Newark water supply delivers water to places outside of Newark.
Multiple cities. We could deliver water all the way to upstate New York if we had the contract.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean the water system is huge. That's why people always been trying to get it. It's huge. I mean, we never have a drought in the city of Newark. When the state is in drought, Newark is never in one. Like when it doesn't rain, we have millions of gallons of excess water, and then the state kind of commandeers our water in difficult times like that. They make us deliver water to other places when there's a drought. So we have an abundance of water in Newark, an abundance of it.
So when there was a call to privatize water, can you talk about that? Like every few years, there's always a call to, hey, we can save money on infrastructure by privatizing water, right? Like that.
Yeah, well, that's why people do it. That's why people around the country do it. Not just because they want to sell their water system. It's because the repairs and all the stuff you have to do to maintain a system, something as big as Newark, or a system. Imagine a system as big as Chicago or places like that. How they reservoirs are. People sell that so they can invest in it. Like it's difficult to keep the system up pristine, to manage it, to get the water rates that you want. Because we talking about a city like Newark, you don't want to raise the water rates too high, but you need revenue to invest in a system to keep it, modern and functioning and safe and treated. So all of those things you have to consider. And people will make a lot of this water you buying out the store is nothing but water that these privatized companies got from municipalities and filtered, and they put it in a bottle and sell it to you.
And I was going to ask you that, Mayor, because New York did that. Has that ever been? Is that something that you would entertain? Having a bottled water.
People think about that all the time on our side. Just the capital you need to begin that program while we fixing the system at the same time. We have so much repairs that we have to make. The revenue that we raise basically go into repairing dams and making sure, dealing with flooding and all this other kind of stuff, making sure our water system is up to date, because money hasn't been invested in that water system for decades until I came into office. And, it's very, very, very expensive. And when we had the issue with the lead, that elevated the call for privatization, because you got private companies coming now saying we can do all of this, we can do this. I know y'all need money. We can give you $1 billion over the next 10 years, if you sell us the water. I mean, these are offers that we get. And you gotta understand people that are in a financial crisis and the city need the money and you need to invest in this and that. Those deals look very lucrative, so people take it for the right now. But it's like when people sell their parents' home, you need that money right away, but you're not thinking about the equity and the wealth that the family has by holding on to that home, because you just probably can't maintain it. You can't do the repairs. You can't pay the taxes, all of that stuff. And so people, Instead of finding a way to tough it out and keep the home, they sell it, take the money and move down to Atlanta.
Right.
But it's the same thing, you know. That's why our communities are in jeopardy. You know, you have families that have had these houses for 20, 30 years. These speculators come in with cash money. They give you $200,000 for a house that's worth $350,000. The appraised value of the house is going to be cheaper because Black people own it. If a white person owned it, it would be higher.
Yep.
So the appraised value is going to come back at like $300,000 when it probably should be $450,000. And they're going to give you $200,000 in cash, and you ain't never seen $200,000 in cash.
Right.
So you're going to take $200,000 and go move to Atlanta or Florida. You in Kissimmee somewhere, enjoying your retirement until your money run out.
That's
but
right.
That's what happens. And the water system is the same. So they come, American Water, Viola, all of these places come, and they offer us a ton of money. They did it to Sharp. They did it to Corey. They did it to me. I mean, offered us water, you know, offered us money for the water system, you know. And it's these are not like, you know, kind of minuscule deals these people talking about. You know, they're talking real money. They're talking about real money. So to anybody would consider it, but you know, you have to think about the long term, you know, not just you. What about your kids and your kids' kids who have to figure out, you know, that asset is extremely valuable to them to have that.
Yeah, one of the things I never understood about the privatization conversation is that they're going to try to privatize right now, but they're privatizing for everybody in the future. Like, you never get it back.
Oh,
right?
You never get it back. And they're going to raise your water rates because the stuff you wouldn't do as a public entity or you do it slower because you care about the people in the community and you know what the hardships. They're not going to care. They're going to raise the water rates 20, 30%.
And lower standards, which is the real
Oh, yeah,
deal.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the real
definitely. That's what's going to happen. And you'll be stuck. And you'll be stuck paying for it because you still got to pay for it, even though they own it, because they're delivering you a service, but you're paying for the service through your water rates.
And you're paying more. Like Detroit had water cutoffs, right? There were lots of places in Michigan where people literally had their water cut off in large rate because they're paying private companies, and the private companies are like, well, you can't pay the water. Well, you ain't got no water.
Yeah, but could you imagine? But could you imagine had Mayor Baraka sold our water? Oh my God! Oh my God! There'd be live effigies all over the city of Newark, right? Yeah. We told you he was going to do that. Hang this brother. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then if he'd sold the water, then it would have been all kind of conversation about Black people getting ready to get poisoned in the city of Newark. You know somebody gonna do something to the water. Come on.
Even if it was for $1 billion, brother. But we have to protect that water up there, and even the federal government, like we have to get in full compliance because of terrorism. Our water reservoirs are open, so we have to have security up there. We obviously need better security than we have in order to do the whole city. I mean, the whole reservoir, you know, because it's open, honestly.
All right. Oh my God. That reminds me, your dad had there's a video with your dad, and one of the grandbabies walked in while your dad was getting interviewed. And he was just crying, and only your father can calm him down.
Yeah.
But there was just a situation in New York where they found polio in the water. So yeah, you're right. We have to protect our water resource because people are always up to something.
Yeah, we absolutely do. But it's all our resources that we have in the city, man. It's so much, and people don't appreciate the value of it or how old it is. And we're always ready to get up and go. And don't understand what you have, and you know, people disinvest in the community. They let the stuff get run down. They make your life cycle as miserable as possible until you voluntarily walk away, and then they come right in. Like in Europe, all of the cities are occupied by rich people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the opposite in America. Like all of the
Right.
cities in Europe are occupied by the people that are wealthy. You know, folks that have very little money live in the countryside or the suburban communities in Europe, right? So America is the opposite, but these people are realizing how valuable these cities are, that they're connected to all of the transportation infrastructure here, the ability to get around, all of the jobs and all of the industry and all of the financial institutions are in these cities, right, where we are. And the access to that in these cities is what people
Did he freeze?
realized over the years, that the suburban living is simply not what it was cracked up to be. And
Mayor, you're coming in and out, but that's one of those things
Tom, so
I think, Mayor, you switching over because you got out the car and you coming in the house, and you got in the house and you're going in and out. So yeah, I think
okay.
Yeah.
But that's
I'm losing service.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening, though. I mean, I think that's what's happening in Newark. I think that in other, particularly in Brooklyn and Chicago and around the country, where we got people who are trying to make the cities the worst place in the world to live.
What they
and
did.
Then of course, the plan is to come in and get everybody to take those checks, like you said, man, move down to Atlanta. You got folks in Atlanta now talking about they're out of money and they're trying to figure out how do they get back.
Yeah.
Well, look at Essex County. We can look at Essex County right along the Morris-Essex line. In Orange, you had our family housing projects, right? You could throw a rock at the Morris-Essex line, going down East Orange, going down to Newark, right where the Newark Broad Street. There were the residential homes all along, right behind Newark Broad Street, and all of that down. All of those family housing units have all closed along the Morris-Essex line because people have come and tried to develop those areas. Like you said, Mayor, they realized those were those are areas that were right on the transportation. In Orange, we had the Colgate family that thought it was good to live in Orange but commute to the city. But now people want to live right on top of the railroad tracks.
Oh yeah. It's they would rather us live there and come back here. So, that's what's been the trend lately. The reverse of that, people coming back to these cities and pushing us in the suburban and countryside communities. That's really what the trend is and what people want in terms of housing and housing availability. That's why it's important for us to build affordable housing and deal with housing of all kind of walks of life in these cities, so that people can have the ability to live here still and not be pushed out, to PG County or like they did in DC or other places like that.
Yeah, that's actually like every single city all over the country, right, is going through the exact same thing, where the people who are living there, who are Black and brown, are getting pushed out. And you're right, like in terms of talking about what in Europe, because if you remember, like when there were riots in France, they were talking about the riots in the French suburbs, right?
Right.
And the riots in the French suburbs is where they live, and Bloomberg started the trend to reverse that in New York, where it was like, let's bring all the rich people back to the city, and they got back to and that was pushing people out. Every single city that I was in Kansas City a few weeks ago, and same thing, right? Like plush, beautiful place inside Kansas City, known for like Black people. They have a Black baseball museum. They have a Black jazz museum, but they seem like museums for Black people, right? Like in Kansas City, because they're pushed further and further out.
Yep. To the suburban communities. That's exactly what the actual trend has been reversed. That's taking place in these cities now, and why you have to have policies or try to fight for policies that change that. And the problem is people think that this stuff is like individually controlled, like the mayor by himself has the ability to stop capitalism. And at the end of the day, like people, when you explaining what's happening, you have to explain it in a systemic way so people understand what's going on, so they know who to fight. Because you could change individuals year after year after year, but if the system, first of all, housing is a commodity in capitalism, and it shouldn't be, right? It's a commodity. Because it's a commodity, it's bought and sold on a private market, and is subject to the whims of the market, as opposed to housing in other countries.
Housing, healthcare, and
Right.
All that.
These are all commodities.
Right.
They shouldn't be. These are things that people have to have. If you was like in if we were in like medieval primitive times, you could basically go carve out a cave and build something with some grass and huts and wood and go live somewhere. Now that the Industrial Revolution came and capitalism societies got sophisticated, now you got to sleep without shelter. It seemed to me as systems advance, we should have figured out how we can make sure everybody have shelter.
Yes, right.
But because everything is a commodity in capitalism, everything can be bought and sold on the market is at the whim of the marketplace. As was said, healthcare, housing, education, all of these things should not be at the whim of the marketplace, but it is. It is, and as a result, the market dictates the cost of housing. So people get upset. Oh, you gentrifying. That's not how it works. When the market is saturated in one area, it comes to the next. So if the average cost of housing in New York right now is $5,000, the average rent in New York is $5,000 on the market. So at the end of the day, if I can't afford $5,000, I'm going somewhere else. But if I'm used to paying $2,500, and in Newark we used to paying $1,000, the landlord has now the ability to raise the rent from $1,000 to $2,500 because they can get that rent.
Right.
Yep. But that's also happening, right?
Right.
And I think that's and when you say, man, that everybody think that you can do something to stop folks from coming into Newark and purchasing the city. Well, you are doing that. I mean, that's what happened in our men's meetings. That's actually what you're trying to tell us to do, right?
Right.
I mean, even in our last meeting when you said all of us need to get together and create LLCs and begin to do some of this ourselves. I mean, short of you actually creating the LLC yourself and saying, okay, I'm gonna go start buying these buildings. Come on, man. I mean, you're trying to do it, but at the end of the day, we've got to wake up and heed the call, because at the point we begin to turn around and look and it's happening, we know folks are going to say exactly what they said. No, y'all know it was Mayor Baraka's fault. Y'all know he sold the city. No, y'all had an opportunity to buy the city just like everybody else.
Well, we also doing a community development model. We got all these nonprofits and mid-sized developers, small Black and brown developers. We're getting ready to do some collective stuff and buy some property and combine it with city property and develop it ourselves and deed restrict it so the rents can't be through the roof and all of that. So there are policies we could put in place to try to mitigate what's going on. And mitigate is different from stopping it, because you can't stop people from coming here with cash in hand, buying people's property who are going to sell it to them, right? Or landlords who want to raise the rent. What we can do is require that there's some level of rent control, and then they can't raise the rent year over year over a certain amount of money, which is what we do and what we have to continue to do. But that only mitigates. It doesn't stop it. It doesn't abolish it. It just mitigates. It slows it down and provides remedy for some of it, so you won't kill everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like an avalanche that hit the community, and you are providing cover, and you're going to protect as many people as possible, but knowing some people are going to die, right? So this thing, what's going to happen, that it's going to have a deleterious effect on some people in the community, and you're trying to mitigate it so it doesn't hurt everybody, or that we can withstand the blows of it when it comes. Like, we buttress ourselves to withstand the blow of this kind of capital investment and infringement in our community. Because it's almost when everything is a commodity, in this place. In order to even function, to run the city, you need capital. You need capital investment, right? You need people to pay taxes, right? You got to have people in here who can afford to pay taxes, businesses, houses, to pay taxes so that you can provide services. But if you don't have anybody paying the taxes, you can't provide services. You get the money from the state subsidy and federal government. You at their whim, and when they decide to lower it, decrease it, take it away from you, there's really nothing you can do. And then the level of service you provide people becomes less and less, right? And so that's why you try to get a mixed community. You try to bring people in a community who can afford housing, who can pay the taxes, who can live in this, businesses that can come in, that can hire people, that can give people jobs, that can pay other taxes as well. But on the other side of that, you have to make sure that you balance that by making sure that they're developing affordable housing, that they're giving people in your community jobs, that you're raising the minimum wage, you're raising the quality of standards in that community, all of those things. And it's not an easy task, but these are things you have to do in the meantime.
Right.
In the meantime, under the present system that we live under. And because people don't know really about the present system that we live under, they charge it to individuals and different things because they don't know where we live and they don't know what capitalism really means and how it functions, right? And you're not taught that in school. You're not taught that anywhere else. You're just angry that something is happening to you. You just don't know why it's happening.
And it's more of a balancing act, right? That you have to do to try to keep a balance. But
Absolutely.
you know, man, that actually happened in Greenville in Jersey
I was
City.
gonna say,
You know that the Hasidic community came to Jersey City 2 years ago, and if you recall, when one brother got upset and shot up the place, but they actually came through the community with millions of dollars and started buying people who never seen $200,000-$300,000 and started buying their houses, and they came in like a flood. And if you were to go through Greenville today, you'd think you were in Brooklyn because it is a Hasidic community. You know, they opened up their own mosques, they got their own schools now, and at one point that was a starch Black community.
Well, and then see, ultimately, like, and what happens is like you'll start blaming that on even them when the system itself creates that situation and allows for that situation to happen. It doesn't. First of all, you should be in a home because you're a human being, and people shouldn't have the right to come and buy you out your house, foreclose you out your house, throw you out your property, do all these other things. That's a civilized community that understands that everybody should have a roof over their head, a dwelling. Right. And we should not be pitted against one another because the market can decide who can afford to have a roof over their head and who can't afford to have a roof over their head, or who can afford to have health care, who can't afford to have health care. They're basic things that we need, in this contract we have to allow ourselves to be governed. They're basic things that need to be delivered to us. Right. And housing and health care is certainly two of those things, right? People should have a right to have shelter, and it's the government's job to invest in that, especially since you're taking millions, billions, trillions of dollars in taxes from people. You should be investing in at least housing and healthcare, at least housing and healthcare, at least that.
But you're right, man. But from our perspective, there's some historical factors that have, and we're always playing catch up, right? Because these folks have never done right by Black people, and that's one of the things that Professor Small always says all the time. We and he said that last week when he was on the show. Making sure that we differentiate between people of color and Black people, because he's saying that when we use different terms, we get caught in that treadmill, and we always end up in the back of the line trying to move ahead. But for us, there are a lot of historical factors, like you just said. We don't have certain knowledge, right, about your finances. We don't have certain knowledge about politics. We just don't have certain knowledge, and so when people come in and people are able to pit us against other people, right, that happens because we see other people moving ahead of us. And what we don't have is we don't have the knowledge to understand how to maneuver in that game ourselves. We get caught in that, right? And that's where we are. And that's why when people start looking at people like yourself, who come from a historical place of struggle, and things begin to change, they looked at you because they don't have the knowledge, or they looked at people like us who they think, well, y'all know, well, y'all should be protecting us because we don't know. But again, like I said, man, that's a balancing act, but that's a heavy lift too, right? I mean, that's a heavy lift.
Well, I would submit that most Americans don't even know what capitalism is, right? Or how the system works. Most Americans don't even participate in it. They don't even vote, right? So in a democracy, this Western democracy, most of them don't. And black people obviously, who don't understand capitalism because we were a commodity too.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like the house and the healthcare, we also were a commodity to be bought and sold on the marketplace. Right? I mean, that's just real, which gives us a unique perspective of what this thing is here in this country. And we need to use that perspective to lead, right? And not follow, but lead. The problem is we allow people to come and organize us when we should be organizing them.
Yep.
They come to our community to organize us. For example, people could say, "Oh, the state tests are wrong." I was at a forum, the guy got up, white guy, the state test, and he was right. The state tests are wrong. We shouldn't be testing kids. We need to get rid of these tests. Really speaking out against people who were trying to get kids to pass the test. And what I had to make clear, because we lack clarity, is that two things are at play here. Well, while we agree with you that those things are wrong and they need to be abolished and gotten rid of, the second part of it is we're still held to those standards in the meantime. Right. So we don't have the luxury to say either or. We have to, or else we give kids up. We let these kids die until we figure out how to get this done, or wait for the workers of the world to unite. We got to get the kids to live now, to pass these tests now. Yeah. And what this guy should be doing is not in our community telling us which one we should choose. He should be down there trying to make sure there's no more state tests. Yeah. Right, so he should be organizing that and allow us to do what we need to do to get our people to fight against what he's fighting with, to join him in his fight. But first, we got to give them information and education to be able to do that, right? And so we need to teach them, and we need to get them, because we're still going to be held to those standards. We still have to compete. We still have to do all these things until that stuff changes. Until it changes, we still in the system. We still pay taxes. When things happen, we still dial 911. Yeah. If you don't pay your taxes, they still gonna come get you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I don't care how much you say you're not part of the government, you ain't with the struggle, you ain't with the country, and this and that. When the tax season come, you paying them. And if you got a job, they taking them out your salary anyway, unbeknownst to yourself, they taking it from you. So
that's right.
I mean, you got a Social Security card. Some of you got bank cards and credit cards and all kind of stuff. So you're involved in the very system that you rail against. So we have to be clear, right? That the struggle is multifaceted. Like while we're waiting and while we're fighting and joining a larger struggle to transform everything that takes place, we also got to understand that we have to build rafts for our folks so they can survive and live in the present sense. Yeah. Because people are alive today, right now.
Mayor Baraka, so it's actually, you said healthcare, housing, and it's education. And
that's right.
And Principal Caffelli said that we should pose, when the superintendent come on, pose the question, how can we ensure that the children of Newark learn the principles of capitalism?
They should. Absolutely. They should learn civics. I mean, there's no way that you should be involved in a system and you don't know Western democracy, how it functions, what it is, capitalism, what it is, how it functions, how it evolved from mercantilism to industrial revolution to capitalism, how it evolved, and labor versus, capital, all of that stuff. People should know that, and they should read that. and understand that so they can make intelligent decisions about what it is they want and don't want, right? Right now, our decisions are based on people's different personalities, who we like and don't like, who's got the best commercial, usually silliness and anger and ego and all kind of other things. And as we get to a point where we begin to develop, they some kind of line or unity, they create opportunities for us to be against one another and tear each other down. So I've learned we can't use the same rock that we killed Goliath with on our allies, on each other, right? And because we disagree, there's ways for us to disagree, but we can't use the rock we killed Goliath with on each other. And these people force us in situations where we always fighting with one another to the extent that we don't even have time to get together around anything. These people aren't worried about us.
Yep.
And that's just very clear. On a state level, they're just not worried.
Yep.
Right? At the end of the day, New Jersey is a Republican state. It's a red state.
Yep.
It's a completely red state. How do I know? Every time Black people and brown people stop voting, they vote a Republican government. That's how you know it's a red state. It is a red state. And people, this it's not true. That's not true. It's not true. And every time they get us to sit down, to stay home, to not do whatever, they get in charge. And, they make our lives worse than it has to be.
Yep.
And I'm not saying when the other people in charge, our lives are peachy, but what I am saying though is we do have under those folks, we have a greater opportunity to fight and struggle as opposed to somebody that's going to completely restrict you or take away your right to even say anything.
Mayor, I know we're going to be in 13 minutes. We'll be having the superintendent on, and tomorrow you're having a very important march tomorrow, correct? A 13 mile across the city. You stop in different neighborhoods that have problems with this gun violence, and I would love for you to spend some time on why 13 miles. What's your vision behind it, and to let the people know what's going on tomorrow.
Well, we're raising our voices, and we're going to walk. The 13 miles is the length of the city and the areas that we call hot spots where it happens at. And we need to go there, and we need to use this as an opportunity to organize people, to get them engaged and involved, to raise our voices about what's happening in our community, to create a sense of unity and love for each other in our communities, to bring our young people together who probably are waiting for an opportunity to come out of the shadows and speak and talk about things they've been wanting to talk about for a long time. This gives them the space and the time to do that. Just like when we rally about something else, we feel empowered in the process of doing it, and we feel empowered afterwards. Prayerfully, we'll feel empowered after this to begin to do creative and real things about the violence and crime that takes place in our communities, right? But even if you look at what's happening in Newark, the violence in Newark right now is being driven by young people and by stolen cars and all this other kind of stuff. It's almost like the history is repeating itself.
Right.
But we before it gets out of hand, because right now we have the same numbers in terms of homicides that we did last year, and the shootings are down and all this other kind of stuff. But because we've had such high profile kind of shootings, it kind of, it rattles everybody.
Right.
And then you could sit back and be like, oh, the numbers or the data is not as bad as it appears to be. But it's really the perception of how people feel is more important than anything else. And whether people feel empowered to do something about their lives. And they need to see the thousands of other people who believe and think the same way they do,
right,
who want it to end. They need to see good families, good people, good young folks, good children, everybody out here, together collectively doing this. And we got a big rally at Westside High School when it's done. We gonna meet at Chancellor and Aldine at like 1:30. The rally is at 7 at Westside, so we're gonna march this whole city. And you could drive, you could ride your bike, you could ride a motorcycle. If you got a horse, you can bring your horse. Everybody's gonna come out with whatever they got. They're gonna walk the city, but I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna try to do the whole thing. So And there's other people who are encouraged to do that because we're doing it. And we telling businesses to close your business that day, come on out, participate with us, or bring your stuff outside on the sidewalk, you know. We hopefully that people do that and participate in what we're doing.
What do you say to our so-called colleagues in media who chose to make that simple gesture that you just raised the story or the thing that they focused on instead of what we're trying to do to reduce the violence itself? Well, the whole point of the march and all these programs that we have built up over the last several years.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point. You know, this is work people have been doing for a long time. This is really just us trying to amplify that work and exacerbate it and exaggerate it to a point where, you know, it impacts everybody. And they're going to focus on that because that's what's important to them. You know, we guys got to have a discussion about capitalism. That's what's important to them, and them trying to basically make it about us telling businesses they can't open, as opposed to us asking businesses to be in solidarity with people who are fighting for their lives in these communities, right? For the very people who feed your family and take care of you by patronizing your store over and over again. We want you to be in solidarity with them by shutting it down for that one day and saying, stop the killing, stop the shooting.
That's actually the language, solidarity, right? I think that if those folks were to look at it like that, right, that they were in solidarity, right, particularly with the people in the community, because a lot of these people are not from the city of Newark. They come in and run their businesses, and yes, they're being patronized by the people who live in the city that don't have the luxury of coming in to the city and then going out when it get dark, right?
Yeah.
They have to live with the reality of what's going on. So yeah, that is the language of solidarity. You know, if they can
That's
see
what it
that,
is.
yeah.
But this place is so bent on selfishness, man. The idea of collectivity is foreign to people who are educated here in Western America, in Western world. You know, the idea of collectivity and cooperativeness, you know, cooperation, you know, is all individualism and what I can get at the expense of somebody else. You know, solidarity is important because those people come to your store when they don't have nothing.
Yep.
And give you their last dollar.
Yep.
You know, over and over again, and loyal to you,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We want that, some reciprocity. I think it should be some reciprocity there when you're talking about the lives of the people in these communities, that these folks should be willing and excited to participate in something like that.
Oh, you know, man, I remember Bob Law saying years ago, you know, when he did Night Talk, and he used to talk about how, it might have been 30 years ago, when he was talking about how Koreans used to come into the black community and they would open up, you know, stores in the black community. And you remember at one point it was very contentious between young black people and Koreans, people going in their stores and so forth, because they felt like they weren't being respected when they would go in the store, right? There was no cohesiveness between them and the community. And here we are now, we 30 some years later, and the mayor would call for some solidarity from folks in our community. Just say, hey man, close the store at 2:00 and be in solidarity, so the very people that support you know that you support them. And some people would find that difficult to even acknowledge that and see that as a good thing. Absolutely incredible. And part of it is too is these are some of the very people who claim, man, right? Because I've heard this. They claim they support you, but on the other side of that, say, well, nah, I can't really do that. I can't really close at 2:00. Wait a minute, you just said you support the mayor and you support the city.
Well, something else could happen too. I mean, in Harlem on 125th Street, every May 19th, we don't ask.
Yeah, the Malcolm X.
We've been telling folks, we shut it down, right? And after having done that, most businesses came to the conclusion that this is all right. Why can't these folks salute their hero? And why can't we be in solidarity with that? But it took us a few years to do that, but you know, it can go that way. When we first started those rallies and those shutdowns years ago, it was about getting everybody's attention, who should be including all the natural stakeholders, to come in and all let's sit down and let's figure out how we're going to do this thing together, right? And when folks didn't want to listen, well, then we would pay them visits, And I remember when it came to here when we went to NJPAC, folks couldn't understand why that was necessary.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're in a space now where it should be automatic. It should be a natural thing to do, to be in solidarity. It's not something we do every day.
Right.
It's something that we do periodically to bring the community together, so the community continues to move forward in spite of the problem of violence. We want to live beyond our problems, live through our problems, and solve our problems, and not be overwhelmed and dominated and taken over by our problems. Mm-hmm. And what folks don't realize is that in your quest to make this a trauma-informed town, right? Trauma is paralyzing.
That's right.
Yep. We do this to break that paralysis.
That's right. It is. People don't come outside. They don't want to do anything. The kids not going to come out. They don't want to say anything. They're scared. And this is the opportunity to shake it, to shake the very foundation of all of that. Right? That's right. And the store owners and all these other people should understand that, because in some of these places, the violence is happening inside their stores.
Yep. We've lost store owners to some of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just behooves them to participate in it. And then we got to think beyond the old, like, kind of models and stuff that people that give us to, solve our problems. We have to be creative about what's going on, which is why this march is something we should be doing. And as we was on the live today, Keisha Yuri, the director, was talking about how they're going to be knocking on doors and how they're going to having tables set up, and how they passing things out, and they getting the very youth that are involved in some of these problems to be out there marching and walking with us, right? So all of that stuff, just inviting everybody to be a part of it, it just shakes the very foundation of all of these things that are happening. So I think everybody that can be involved in it should be involved in it.
Yeah.
And we have to make room for people to be involved in it in the way that they can.
Yes.
And that's something that we lack a lot. We believe if people are not struggling in the same form that we're struggling in, that somehow they're not struggling at all, or they're a problem. This thing is multifaceted, and we have to give room for people to fight back in a way that's effective for them and benefits us all.
And so, Mayor, again, we're gonna start on Chancellor and Aldine in the
Chancellor
South.
and Aldine, 2:00.
Yep, and if they can't make any one of the make that stop, they're gonna be 4 stops along the way. Correct?
Yep, they can meet us anywhere, or they can start in their own community at a later times. We start in the South, the North, the East, the West is the starting points in all of those communities. In the North, they start at Grafton Avenue. In the East, they're at Pennington Court. In the I believe in the West, where they starting at in the West? That escapes me.
But you're finishing in the West because you're going to be at the high school.
Yeah, we finishing in the West. Absolutely finishing at Westside High School. Yep. In the Central Ward, we starting on Bruce and 14th Avenue by New Community.
And so at any one of those stops, people can actually just join.
They can join
the march at those stops.
Yep. They can join.
And I think what's important is, man, what you just said. They don't necessarily, have to walk those 13 miles. With Champion Baraka, who's going to walk 13 miles.
No, they're going to have to do it.
And by the time he finished with 13 miles, he's going to look like The Rock. Right, you gotta have muscles coming out of every part of his body. but the important piece is to make sure that if we can't show up that way, that everybody come to that 7 o'clock rally.
Right. So it's a way for everybody to participate.
Yep.
In a way that they can, at the extent that they can.
And what would be fantastic if for folk, if they were able to see this, right, as a fellowship. Right, see it as our city coming together, and fellowshipping with one another around stopping this whole idea of violence, and being in fellowship with our men. So that's what I would hope that we can see and make happen.
Yep.
Tomorrow with our men.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. All right, man. We're gonna see you tomorrow.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not sure if I'm gonna do 13 miles with you, but I'm gonna come out and go. I'm gonna go. Hey, man. I'm gonna go a couple of rounds. I might not go to 13 champion rounds, but I'll go a couple of rounds with you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you.
Well, we definitely appreciate having you here on as well.
All right, y'all. Take care.
All right, man.
All right.
Peace.
Take care. All right. So we have the first segment was the mayor's forum, and we are always honored and privileged to have the superintendent of Newark Public Schools on as well. And full disclosure, I've known the superintendent since we were 14. He's one of the hardest working people smartest and hardest working people I have ever met in life. So I always say that it's an honor and pleasure to work in a school district that he heads up. So just full disclosure on that, like in terms of, yes, Roger, we're always happy to see you, always happy that you are here. Welcome.
Appreciate the invite. Thank you so much.
Hey, Superintendent.
Hi, my love.
Superintendent, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to take
first
Jonathan. I was trying to go. Go ahead.
Before you jump in,
Okay.
I want to start off.
I tried.
Yeah, I know. I want to start off with a video that Newark Public School released. We're going to get into some controversies. A lot of controversies that are popping off right now. We're going to jump into those as well.
So Jonathan, can I at least speak to
Of course.
Can I say what's up to my brother? Can I just say peace?
We just love you, Superintendent.
Exactly. Can I just say
sorry,
we love
we're all
our
excited.
superintendent? We just, you know what I mean? So, hey, Roger, John ain't even gonna allow me to say hi. Like, why?
Sounds like it's gonna be hot tonight. Brother Muhammad, you better help me out.
That's all
good,
good.
Some people are a mess. You gotta talk to them.
But I do want to start off with a video that I saw on Facebook, and it's a video that of Newark Public Schools. So we're going to start off this. We might play it toward the end as well. But I just want you to talk about this first before we get into some of the controversy, because school's about to start, right? And I'm on Facebook and I'm looking up, like, hey, what's going on, whatever, right? And then I see this video. And I was like,
1, 2, 1, 2, ready, hey!
Calling our future. Calling all artists, believers, deep thinkers, pioneers, poets, those who shift the culture deeper into the real, the authentic, the true. Calling those who believe first place is the only place. Those who achieve excellence and know there's still a long way to go.
Let's go.
Calling those who believe college prep starts with Head Start, and the graduation stage is just a launch pad to a lifetime of learning. Calling the dares, the bright, the brilliant, the beautiful, the whiz kids, the loners, bookworms, wallflowers. Calling all who fit out before they fit in.
也不管你说什么语言。
There's always a seat at the table.
Go, come on, push it.
Calling those who rise early and sleep late. Those who understand the work of shaping lives is more than a job. It's a calling. Calling the creatives, the inventors, translators, difference makers, all who hear impossible and have to ask,
What is that?
No, seriously, what is that?
calling the great building something that lasts forever starts with that first brick. Calling all who get knocked down and keep rising, who go through the ringer and return to peace, joy, and love always. Calling the next generation of designers, rocket scientists, world-class athletes, influencers, Pulitzer Prize winners, chess grandmasters, A-list actors, titans of industry, you name it. This is the place to be. Welcome to Newark Public Schools. Let's go to work.
So what was that, man? Like what made that?
That's a grandchild of the Black Arts Movement coming out of Newark, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. It is not a portrayal of anyone's imagination. It is actually the real deal. These are actually students from Newark with staff, coaches, administrators, teachers, demonstrating that there is greatness in our schools, and we're not afraid or ashamed to show it in this fashion. And I'm proud of all of the students, parents, and the staff members that are part of that, which will be a series, a very in-your-face reality. There is not work that we haven't done, but there's work that needs to get done, and we're obviously committing all of our efforts towards that end. And thank you for showcasing it for us.
Oh, I mean, when I saw that video, I was like, wow! Like one of my debaters was within that. I heard about it, but did not expect what I saw in terms of just showcasing, a feel-good showcase of what's going on in Newark in the very beginning. I do want to jump into that first controversy, right? Like, you've been building a lot of schools, right? Like the portfolios of schools has expanded. We've got a fashion institute that is working with Parsons. We've got a school that's going to deal with cybersecurity and technology, right? Like a school of information, right? Like technology. It seems like the goal is to move forward. I'm going to talk about the School of Architecture, Green Street, and the series of articles that came out by Mark Bonamo, right? Clearly, like, it seems like the schools that you have coming out, I think make sense, right? You've got a school that deals with world languages, etc. In this school, in the building of it, he points out that the actual leasing contract seems to give Newark a really bad deal, right? Like, it's an extensive article that talks about the lease, and it just makes a lot of, coming from the article, things about the developer. Apparently, another story about the developer being almost like threatening tenants and other properties that they own. When we're looking at the way in which this lease happened and the controversy surrounding it, these articles, I'm going to let you comment. Like, what's going on with that? I'm reading the articles by Mark Bonamo. I'm looking at the investigative journalism. He's reading the leases. It sounds like not good. A lot of people are talking about it. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity, because it is a really important topic that requires much clarity. A lot of people really don't understand that Newark, being one of the 31 Abbott school districts, we're governed. Now we're called SDA districts. That's how new school buildings are built in Newark and the other former Abbott school districts. We can't erect a building. We have the latest were 3 new schools, Elliott, Oliver, and South Street schools, in partnership with the Schools Development Authority. That's how those schools were actually built in Newark. We were promised 40 new schools during the entire time of state operation, and obviously haven't realized yet, but a quarter of that, in fact, less than a quarter. You mentioned a number of the new schools that we have opened up, and I think those are important to highlight: Eastward Elementary, Ironbound Academy, Michelle Obama, Sir Isaac Newton, and Newark Vocational. So the majority of those schools are actually our own buildings. A couple actually, because 12 of our school buildings were sold during the 2016 to 2019 period. The district actually has to lease other properties in order to have space for our students. As it relates specifically to the new schools, all of the new schools have resulted in exactly what we were expecting, motivating students and their families to see that there are other options than the options that are in Newark, inclusive of the district's schools. So there's a lot of work that we need to do and that is underway with regards to the district schools, knowing that our oldest school is Lafayette Street School, built 10 years before Abraham Lincoln became president, and we still use it today. So in order for us to expand our footprint, there are developers that are out there that are interested in assisting us. So there are a number of rules that we have to actually follow. If we were able to purchase our own building, meaning that the Schools Development Authority's hand wasn't as it exists today, then obviously we would be in a whole other situation where the project at 155 Jefferson Street would actually be ours, that we would be able to purchase the building, purchase the land, and actually develop the actual project. That's a good $130 million. The district doesn't have the money to actually do that. So just like other properties, what we can do is lease. So there's been some investigative reporting, and I've had actually some conversations with the union leaders as well, because all of the projects that the district has done has all undergone prevailing wages with all of union members, and they have done an absolutely incredible job. And it's our expectation that all of the laws that are supposed to be followed are followed by everyone. Anyone who wants to do business with us in the future, like this project at 155 entails inclusive. So there's clear laws that have to in fact be followed.
So in other words, if the contractor was not following labor laws, like the reporting is like they weren't using union contracts, they were paying people like less than minimum wage, right? Like they were. So you're saying that if they were doing that, that would be actually illegal and in violation of state law and agreements.
I would say that there's a clear statute that defines the work that they're supposed to do and that they're supposed to abide by. So I know that we have had conversations with the union leaders, and part of what I'm doing is brokering a conversation between the developer and the union leaders. That's actually occurring next week. And I am hopeful that, the moving forward on the project, consistent with everyone's expectations, is the end result of that conversation, because we would expect nothing less than people doing what they're supposed to do to make sure that people are safe, that they're being paid whatever they're supposed to be paid, and that ultimately the project that is created there in the spirit of what it's intended by everyone who has approved it is something that everyone embraces. Because it's ironic that we would be creating an architectural school where we're having plumbing, HVAC, and electricians, and we're teaching those students that will, in fact, get those licenses in the future, all of the important laws that are supposed to be followed in their interests, whether it's the amount of money that they're supposed to be paid or the safety features that everyone must be aware of when, in fact, they get contracted to work with any business, whether it's any of the developers in Newark or outside of our great city. So we're excited about the concept of the new school, and we're looking forward to addressing these quite disturbing issues, because obviously the workers deserve that as well.
And also just in terms of the contract, like there were a series of stories that came out that talked not just about the developer, but there seemed to be like some hidden terms in the lease. Are those going to be reviewed? Are those things going to be like, if it's determined not to be in Newark's interest, to actually deal with that?
Well, there is a lease that kicks in once the project is turnkey for us. And as I shared, the school system and all of the other former Abbott school districts, we couldn't actually pay for upfront $130 million. That's why a lease is the only real way to actually accomplish that task. Now, under state operation, the state operated school district couldn't have the voters vote for a bond. That's what occurs in all of the other school districts across our state. So that's something that we obviously were thinking about in future projects, as well as that there are some terms within this agreement that we have always been mindful of, so that in the eventuality that we want to purchase the property, that it would be purchased in the best interest of the district. So there are legal matters that we've been reviewing since the start of the approval of the lease by all of the parties that needed to get approval, from local authorities to the state. And we are very optimistic that once the initial issues that have been risen by the reporters gets addressed, that the forward thinking that we have in mind, because ultimately we don't want to lease properties, we want to own them. And there are a couple of things in play right now with regards to that property in particular that may actually make that a reality in the end, but that's putting the cart before the horse.
Okay, so we're gonna hear more about that. That's going to be part of an ongoing conversation that we're going to have. There are questions, Ed, Donna, Zai.
Well, I just simply want to say I think that's important what he just said. Because remember the mayor just spoke to that, right? About ownership as opposed to leasing, right? Making sure that this city owns the property, right, as opposed to leasing, so people aren't controlling those particular buildings. So I think that that's important. But I would simply say I think everything that Rhonda just said is on point, right? And I think that as a community we ought to support and trust what he's saying. I think that at this point, I think I want to sit back and look and see what progressed from those upcoming meetings.
And Donna, Zai, do you have any questions?
Well, Superintendent, the mayor was on before you, and out of that discussion, the question of the discussion of capitalism came up, and Principal Kafele, who's listening now, he said, "How can we ensure that the children of Newark learn the principles of capitalism?" Now, how so? I think we have a project that was going on right now with the purchase of these new buildings, the buildings in these new schools, and when you have to lease and when you have to buy, that this lesson right here can be the lesson that you can have a lesson that you can take and turn it into a learning opportunity. Can we do that? But can you just answer that question? How can we ensure that the children of Newark learn the principles of capitalism?
Absolutely. First of all, I just love my brother for all of his incredible work and the work that Principal Kafele continues to do. So just a big shout out to him. There are things that are in play that we could definitely embed a lot of what he is suggesting. So we have a financial literacy course that kind of was developed because of the crash in the middle of 2000 that is required by every student throughout our state. Also, the development of civics as a very important component to understanding how government actually is supposed to work for the people are all parts of pieces that I think kind of create the type of experience that he is in fact referencing. As it relates to this particular example, I think it is a great example of something that we definitely want our students to understand. The fact that we have been under state operation for a little over 2.5 decades, and that we're at a different point in time right now with a lot of batters and bruising and lessons learned throughout, that we are making aggressive moves, that we need to make sure that we're constantly communicating with people. There are a couple of reasons why we have not necessarily been as clear as perhaps I was last night and today, because there are obviously some conversations that are really important for us to be successful on come next week. But I do believe that teaching our students what it is that is occurring right now and why we weren't able to do this before does not mean that something wrong is occurring now. It just means it's a different point of time. There are different rules that we have to follow today that didn't have to occur during state operation. And so making sure that people are clear is extremely important, and leading during this discourse is extremely important as well.
Okay.
Superintendent, the last graduation, how many students had an associate's degree graduate?
146. Woo!
There we go. So is there going to be a point in time?
Bard High School, Eastside High School, they did it the same way the year before, but Westside High School joined them this year. In June of 2022, we had 17 students not only receive a high school diploma from Westside High School, they also received an associate's degree. They finished 2 years of college before they even entered college.
And I asked you that question, along with teaching, we have to teach, sometimes we say to parents, do you realize that if your child is in this Newark school system, that when they leave Newark, they can leave with an associate's degree? And sometimes they don't understand what that means in value.
Yeah.
So how can is there a day that we can think that it will be possible for every child in the school system, if they wanted to graduate with associates, it would be possible?
Absolutely. And we're making strides towards that end right now. We saved parents last year with the class of 2022 over $12 million by not having to pay for college courses, because the district actually assumed the responsibility of that bill. So our students are being prepared, unlike ever before, to really embrace the understanding that college is not something that isn't possible. It is in front of them. They're actually taking college classes while they're in high school right now, and they're doing really, really well. So we're really proud of our exerted efforts across the district. I want to give a shout out to Howard University, because they are the newest partner in our partnership with higher education, and they offered courses to our students at University High School this year, and we are opening opportunities for other higher education partners to assist us in this all too important work.
And is this a Jersey? Are you leading? Is Newark leading the way with this, or is this becoming a Jersey thing?
The whole idea that dual enrollment exists is not new in New Jersey, and it's definitely not new in Newark. The whole difference is that when Jonathan and I were in high school, that the opportunities were taking courses in college. Right now, what we've done is converted just taking college courses to actually taking a series of courses so that students can actually finish 2 years of college while they're in high school. That we are joining school districts across the country in leading in that effort.
Yeah, I remember that the superintendent and I, we were in juniors and seniors in high school. We took chemistry and biology at Essex County College, and we were able to get college credits in that way. And it's inverted right now in terms of bringing that to the schools. I want to go to the second point of controversy. This is, in this point of controversy, there was a picture that was floating around Facebook, and there's of the new principals, and none of the new principals were Black men, right? And there's been, I know you've talked about it before in talking about getting Black male teachers, getting Latino male teachers, getting and pushing that on an administrative level as well. So what is your response to that? They're like, hey, we need more Black male principals. There were no Black male principals in the new principal offerings, right? So what is your response?
Got it. I think it's a great question. Interestingly enough, though, last school year, for the 21-22 school year, I hired 13 Black principals. I only had 2 Latinos ask me, why did I not hire Latino principals? I didn't know that that was a criteria. They happen to be Black, but they happen to be absolutely incredible educators. That's what I hired. Brilliant, inspirational leaders.
You're talking about the from last year. This is the picture from last year.
That's right. This year, with the exception of obviously Kyle and Atiba, they were already on the district's principalship. They were just reassigned schools. The leaders, the 10 principals that were hired this year, weren't hired because they weren't Black or because they were some other race. They were hired because they were 10 incredible educators that we actually needed in Newark. A lot of people aren't aware that half of the principals in Newark are African American. The other thing that people don't really know is that the pool of Latino and Black male leaders in Newark is small to non-existent. So that is why we've created the Black Men Rising Coalition and the Latino Men Rising Coalition. You just can't become an administrator. That the idea is that you have to actually get a master's in educational leadership, and then you actually have to pass the actual national test to actually be a qualifier for the position. And the problem is that we need to make sure that our Black male educators and our Latino male educators are understanding all of the requirements and that they actually proceed in that process. To date, I have about 18 Black male and Latino male educators that are in the pipeline. They're actually finishing college classes for their masters to actually become qualified. So we are monitoring our own staff. Next week, I'm meeting with all of my new teachers, and at the meeting with the new teachers, I'm going to have a separate meeting with our Black male teachers and our Latino male teachers, because they actually have to begin the process as they have just finished receiving their bachelor's. They have to, and we will assist in being and entering into our pipeline to eventually create from that group the leaders that I know must be amongst them. So I'm excited for what the future holds to actually provide unique opportunities for anyone who's qualified first and foremost, and to understand that representation, while we say it's important, that there's an actual process that is required in order for those who look like the children in this school district to actually lead schools in this district. So it is a problem. We understand that it is, and we're intentionally doing something about it.
And on that, also in the process, there are Blacks and Latinos in the process of choosing people. I'm asking, that's the question.
Say that part again.
Like, in other words, in the process of choosing principals, like in central office, there are Blacks and Latinos who are in the process of choosing who becomes a principal and who does not.
Absolutely.
Like, in other words, the cabinet is the people that you work with, are they racially diverse?
Oh, yes. We're considered to have probably the most diverse administrative team from executive staff in the entire state. I mean, we have folks that have children, staff who don't have children. We have across all of the races. We have African Americans, Latinos. We have Latinos from South America, Latinos from the Caribbean. We have Jamaicans on our team. We have gentlemen from India. A very, very diverse group, because it allows for the type of thinking that has multiple perspectives and really can help us move the agenda forward. And the agenda is making sure that we're educating children really well, and that it requires multiple perspectives. We also understand the importance of representation. And so I think that the group of 10 new principals do speak to that. It's also about creating pipelines from the folks that are in per diem positions to becoming teachers, from staff who are teachers to becoming school leaders, and from school leaders that are exercising their greatness to also think about leadership beyond a particular school. So we're tapping people as they're growing and making sure that we're intentionally creating an opportunity for everyone, regardless of who they are and what they look like.
Okay. And do you have questions on that? Do you have questions on that particular subject? And
just as problematic, just as difficult, and just as important, I would think also, is a question of trying to get that same representation amongst teachers in the areas of math and science, right?
Yeah,
In the
like we're
areas of
not
math
there,
and science.
Zaid. We're not. Our people aren't there.
Yeah.
They're not taking classes. Our young ladies are not there. We just finished a course this summer with, and thanks to Johnson Controls, who helped spearhead it, of our young female high school students in the STEAM field. We need them in science and technology and engineering. It's extremely important because we're not in those conversations. There are decisions being made that involve us but do not include us in any of the decision-making process. So we have to be in it to come close to winning any of it. And part of our efforts are to start with our young students as well as our adults. It's a both and proposition.
All right, Ed, Donna.
Yeah, I think one of the things I heard you say, Superintendent, when you talked around representation being important, this is a conversation that that I'm going to look to have with the mayor about bringing the brother on who we had some conversation with a couple of weeks ago, Larry Hazard, who was the commissioner of boxing in the
Larry Hazard.
in the state of New
Go back
Jersey.
years with him.
Yeah, and so we're going to engage in this conversation around representation because a lot of young brothers and sisters and young Latinos, as you know, in this city, don't necessarily connect with, say, me or Jonathan per se. They look at us and say, "Oh, you guys, y'all are super educated," but they may connect with a Zaid. You know what I mean? And in terms of representation, are we creating opportunities for those kids that may be difficult to reach, right? But inviting people like a Zaid to the table that can reach those young kids and perhaps help keep them in school, right? And have them looking, and not thinking that if they come visit John Austin and they see his degrees and say, "Oh, I can't get there," or they come visit me and say, "Oh, they see your degrees and we can't get there," but they see a Zaid who they see in a class, or like a Bashir, right? They say, "Oh, that's achievable
Or not
for
see
me."
gifted.
Right. Are we reaching out to be able to pull those kind of people in to help also, find a way to be able to reach those kids? Like what the mayor was saying today, we're going to walk these streets tomorrow. And the hope is to be able to pull in a lot of these people who, have been afraid, and young kids who didn't see an opportunity in the city of Newark to come out and see people who really give a damn about them, like you, Roger.
Yeah,
So is that like a school of activism or something like that? Is there?
I think there's a two-part answer to the question. The whole idea that we need Zaid and Zaids that are out there to assist us in conversations with our students is absolutely true. That's why our mentoring program becomes extremely important. It's forward thinking in that we're worrying about our students after they're in high school, or while they're in search of their career, during that time period where they're actually no longer with us. That will start obviously earlier. But the second part, Brother Kafeli obviously is speaking to it. We have Zaid in our schools right now. There are students sitting in our classrooms right now who are dreaming of what they want to become. We have teachers, principals, superintendents sitting in schools today. And so at Eastside High School and at University High School, we have the Teacher Academy. We graduated this June in 2022, 2 students, one from Eastside, one from University High School, that not only received their high school diploma, they received a contract that in 2026, they will actually work in Newark as a teacher. They don't have to look for a job. All they have to do is complete all of their schooling at Montclair State University, and we'll be hiring them back in 2026. So the answer to our problems are actually within our classroom. We need to be talking with our students, understanding that they are human beings, that they live, that they have experiences, that they have feelings, that they actually have thoughts, that if we actually seized on, we'd be able to assist not only them, but our community at large. So yes, for adults and yes, for our students, both are essential So it's really solving a lot of our problems and providing them the opportunity.
And Superintendent, where are we at with the Amistad program? Are we still, is that still on the radar? And are we is how are we doing with the Amistad program?
Well, one
The
of the things,
curriculum.
one of the things that I would say is that, we don't make decisions based on people, but the Honorable William Payne worked so hard to get this legislation passed, and for it not to be realized is definitely something that is inconsistent with any parts of my own thinking or imagination. So we have incredible, dedicated staff. Bashir Akinyele, for example, who has really assisted us in not only teaching the curriculum, but in embedding aspects of it all throughout our schoolings in elementary school and in high school. It exists, it is alive, and we continue to monitor it to make adaptations and obviously changes to improvements for us. Junius Williams is just the other incredible person who has assisted us and guided us in this all too important work.
So Bashir Akinyele and Junius Williams have actually worked with the Newark Public School System to push Amistad?
Bashir's right. Pushing it hard.
Like officially, as in like they've been working with the district to do that?
Absolutely.
It's a committee that does that, yeah. I'm answering the question. You should be answering the question.
Yeah, I was just there to confirm the answer.
Yeah,
it's like Bashir and I are closer than close. That's one of my favorite shows.
Something that we think we should do. Obviously, it's in the statute, so it's supposed to be done. It's something that we've obviously embraced and working really hard to make sure it's realized in every classroom, in every school across the whole city.
And Superintendent, sometimes when you're down at a conference and at a state conference, and now you're sitting with superintendents from all over the states, and you might come across a superintendent who says, I wouldn't know how to implement the Amistad. Do you get a chance to help them, or do y'all have opportunities to go into maybe like a Chatham or an area where they just may not know how to implement it to help them out?
Well, I think that that's a really important point of the work that you referenced. So to shepherd it. So unfortunately, COVID-19 was one of the factors that resulted in us having a lot of important conversations with superintendents throughout our county, throughout our state, and even in our country. So whenever there's an opportunity to shepherd all too important work, we're always there to assist. People have a general tendency to think we're the ones who are needy, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But I would also say that we actually know so much that we can actually help others who are in need.
Absolutely.
You know what I think is important. And as I listen to your conversation tonight, Roger, I think that what's important is the way you can touch everybody in the city of Newark, right? The fact that you can touch them kids the way you do, the fact that you can touch a Zaid the way you do, I think that's important. And then when Donna talk about you going and being amongst other superintendents, I think that's what makes you rare. And then to be able to communicate with Principal Kafele the way you do, I think that level of sincerity is important, and I think that, when you talk about the program, putting it in place so that these kids, when they graduate from college, they don't have to go looking for a job. See that level of being concerned, and I'm gonna use a word that at this point, that really speaks to it in the spirit I want to speak to it. Somebody to give a damn, right, about these kids, because like Kafele said, these kids are sitting in class and they are the kids we're looking for. We just don't have the right people who are planning for them. And I think that's absolutely incredible that you're thinking on those levels. I think for me, I just want to see people like Zaid, because this brother can reach people in a way that some of these teachers will probably never be able to reach these kids. But I think that you being able to connect with all of us in the way that you do, and then connecting with them kids, what I want to see is from my standpoint in the city of Newark, because we've got this issue of violence that we march into tomorrow. I think that if these kids really knew who Roger was, right? And you from Newark, look, man, I'm you see me in this position, but it's attainable for them too, right? It's not impossible.
Yeah.
But we've got to make those connections, and that's the beauty of having you on the show, Roger. When you come on with us, that's the beauty of it. Because I think that when people think of a superintendent, I don't think they get the picture of a Roger León. I don't think that.
Let me add to that. I just in anticipating this conversation tonight, just flicking around, doing some minor background research, I came across an interview that you did with another Newark, Steve Adubato, who didn't even know that you grew up in Newark.
Wow. For real?
I was like, Steve, really? Really?
Wait, Steve Adubato did not know Roger León grew up in Newark? Mr. Newark?
Yeah, right. Well, Newark in Newark all his life, of course, right? But I'm not mad at Steve at the moment, but looking at the fact that Roger has a story, has a homegrown Newark story that can do it precisely what Ed talks about. And so it's important for us in these roles, in these places, dealing with these crossroad management challenges to be so present in an organic way to connect to our kids, representing the kind of leadership you're not just being, but trying to bring into being by telling our stories. You're a good hometown story.
I would just say, and appreciate both of you.
That superintendent, I'm sorry, that's like a core curriculum. That's what we need.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate the comments that you all made. The only thing that I'm not doing right now, and when I do get into conversations with students, I do wear it without having the T-shirt on. Is just a kid from Newark. That's all I am. Just a kid from Newark. I tell students and staff members that if they are ever in this situation, or they're teaching a child in this situation, to put it into perspective. Raised by a single mom, on welfare for the majority of their time period, dad who kind of lost his way in his responsibilities, and not being able to not speaking English at all, being in a country that was not where they were born, and having the roots of, rather the family roots, not from the same country, but born here, that anyone who thinks about that scenario, they could always be the superintendent of schools, because that's what they had in me. And so, or Jonathan knows this story too well. Born in the South Ward, raised in the East Ward. Hyatt Court is where most of my games at the big field were actually played. Friends were made in the West Ward. My godparents are from the North Ward, and all my doctors and my shopping occurs in the Central Ward. So I love my city. I love my city. I embrace my city. And the only thing that bothers me is that there are some people who live here who want it to be how it has been, as opposed to see that it could be a whole lot better. And I've been there, but I know it can be better. And we're working hard in collaboration with the mayor in the city to make our schools ready for our students every day.
And Superintendent, that video that Jonathan showed at the top of your interview, talk, how does that become a thought unto a reality?
I like the idea of the question, but it is a reality. You know how long it took the students from Shabazz, the actual, to perfect that video song?
Yes, right. That takes a minute.
2 days only. They did 2 days.
Wow.
That's amazing. Marching band under Rashid Sheffield is incredible. For them to be able to accomplish that task in 2 days, the narrator, she had that script in her head. The kids, we just asked them, show us you, smile. The little boy that says hello. Our athlete, she didn't learn how to swim yesterday. She's been swimming. We wanted to show what an incredible athlete she was. My girls from the Lady Phoenix University High School basketball team and their coach, he has inspired them. They are good. He's made them great. we wanted to tap into my teacher of the year from Lafayette Street School. She's walking that hall in the morning. She's walking that hall late at night. She was walking that hall with a baby in her tummy. She has dedicated her entire life to our students in our school, from our administrators working days, nights, weekends, to staff committing themselves to the same. Our students, how incredible, in fact, they were. When we showed the premiere on Monday night at Central High School, the thunderous applause was from the students seeing themselves in lights. I'm so proud of them
There you go.
and their parents for the incredible work that they've done. So I just wanted to caution, these were not students from another school district. Don't be afraid. There's greatness in our schools, and we're not afraid to show it off.
And Superintendent, before you leave, we have one of our librarians from the city of Orange just asking a question: what safety nets are in place for the children who have the potential to excel but have problems outside of the school walls?
Yeah.
And then Principal Kafele said that Teacher Academy, take that to the middle school. And then when you close out, can you just remind us what a teacher needs to do who wants to be a principal?
Yeah. So as it relates to the question that was raised by the guest, absolutely great. We know that there are students that have lives outside of school, so that we have to really understand every aspect of their lives in order to assist them and their families to help their children do better. So over the course of the last decade, we eliminated our alternative education program. We eliminated our adult education program. So we just reinstated adult education office, and we're opening up our alternative education office this coming school year. In particular, this space is something that the board president really, really enthralls and loves. She knows that all of our children are great, and that for some reason, there are some students that we just aren't able to click on our own selves for them. So we are making sure that we are aggressively addressing all of the students so that anything that occurs outside in the exterior of school doesn't prevent them from accomplishing all of the goals in the school. I have teachers every day sending me a communication saying, hey, I'm interested in joining the pipeline. So there are links in Teacher Talk, which is a communication that I send out every other week to staff, that they can sign up. They can volunteer themselves. Hi, I'm a teacher, but I want to become an administrator in Newark. I want you to understand that it's not about wanting. It's about calling. There's a calling to go into teaching. There's a calling, a shepherding that's extremely important to lead our schools. We need the very best to say, I am ready, or I am ready to do all of the necessary work to be ready for the challenges. We will help them with the interview process. We will help them with the studying on tests. We will help them when they actually accomplish the goal by tapping our retired principals to return back to a system. We're creating a pipeline unlike ever before. We're one of 90 school districts in the United States and all of the territories that are actually with the Wallace Foundation creating these pipelines. There are school districts across the country that are actually taking advice from the incredible work that we're doing. And I have to let you know, all of this that I'm sharing is embedded in an incredible 10-year strategic plan that is redefining education and creating a new ecosystem in the city of Newark. And I want to thank all of the community members and the activists and advocates that assisted in the authoring of an incredible document. You can find it on a district's website that will really instill the type of understanding of not only what we expect of our students, but what they expect from us. And for those who want to be challenged unlike ever before, there are opportunities every day. And if you don't live in Newark, please know that there's always an opportunity for you to also learn and grow here. We are offering $62,000 for new teacher salaries in the district. That is one of the ways to get in if, in fact, you are interested in teaching and are thinking that Newark is the right place for you.
And I want to throw in something. You talked about the 10-year strategic plan, and which you are implementing, right? Like with the expansion of schools.
We're in year 3 right now.
Right, and we see it, right? Like you. I don't ever remember in my life seeing so many new schools open up with so many different areas where kids can excel in, and the partnerships, et cetera, right? And so that is something that is something that I haven't seen before. a lot of parents are still not convinced. There are two things that parents are like, even though there are more people coming into Newark Public Schools now, there are two things that concern some people, right? Like, and the two things are violence within schools, like with the march and violence that in terms of the communities, but they're concerned about violence in schools and they're concerned about test scores. Like the North Ward councilman last year at the end really came in hard about test scores in Newark. So can you address those two things, the concern of parents when they send their kids to school, the concern of violence, and the concern about can my kids get good test scores?
Yeah. So two really important topics on the violence front. We saw the realities of Uvalde, Texas, and we send nothing but love to that whole entire community and school district staff and students. We know that the realities are that we have incredible teachers and incredible students that prevent on a daily basis any type of event that actually would be associated with that type of violence. So while we send our prayers and condolences to them, we know that we have everyone who sees something, says something in Newark, and we appreciate obviously them for that. I also want to share that while we have a lot of room to grow in, that the realities are that when people start talking about an incident or a group of incidents in particular at one school, that more likely than not, that's agenda driven. And I have to share with you, you don't have to make up a lie. We're working really hard every day in every single one of our schools. And there are events that cause us to really be concerned as to how we're meeting all of the needs that our students have before they get into school, while they're in school, and when they go out of school. So as it relates to security, we're creating a number of incredible new policies, procedures, and measures that will take place the start of this school year. And I know that principals will be sharing it with students during summer bridge program, as well as when all of the students return back to school in the first week, as well as sharing it with staff when the staff actually returns in a week or so from now. And then sharing all of that information with parents as we get into the back to school night, which will be the third Thursday at 6 o'clock in every school in Newark this coming September. So to parents, I say this, that we need to make sure that students are aware that there are staff in the school that are there to assist them in all of their efforts, to make sure that they're monitoring all social media because that sometimes children are engaged in conversations that need a parent to be monitoring it, and that to reach out to our mental health teams in every single one of our schools that can in fact provide assistance to their child or somebody else's child, with the understanding that every student in our district is a priority to us. That's on the violence front. On the test scores measures, please know this, that the impact of this pandemic, we have students that have been out of school for almost 20 months because some of the parents made the all too important decision of actually homeschooling a group of students. Our largest number ever, over 130 students, have been homeschooled, which means they haven't been in school since March 13, 2020. We have a whole host of students that have been out a little under a year, and a whole other group of students that were out for a whole 13 and a half months. 38% of our students returned back on April of 2021. 68% of our students, the rest of the students, returned in September of 2021. So the impact of that we know is real. NWEA has done a report 5 years behind our students. And while we know we may have a number of students that have adjusted to the pandemic and have benefited from remote instruction, we know that the number of students that have been negatively impacted and that their grades on standardized tests have been dramatically impacted is significant. And so we're starting on September 6th. Our after-school program, our Excel after-school program, begins on September 6th. I already sent a communication out to all of the parents, and we have 2,500 students already registered to after-school programming on the first day of school. So
Wow.
That's the intentional work that we're doing.
Hold on, wait. You said you have 2,000. Like, what was that? You have 2,000 parents.
2,500 who have been registered for after-school programming beginning on September 6th, the first day of school. And
Wow.
remember, that number is based on the report that has just been finished. While parents are getting this information, returning back from vacation, we expect that number to only increase as we get closer to the start of school. So yes, we are alarmed at our own test scores, and we know that we will be working extremely hard given our 10-year strategic plan and all of the data that unfolds from not only the state tests, but other exams and assessments that we're offering our students as well. The room for growth is large. The extent from proficiency is larger, and we're just committing ourselves with a matter of urgency, knowing that this summer was extremely important and that the students benefited from our summer programs, and that we will obviously continue those efforts when the school year begins.
Superintendent, how many students are in the Newark school system?
So currently for this September, we have over 38,000 students entering our schools, which is the largest number in over 25 years.
Does that take into consideration the charter schools too?
We have 55,000 students when we talk about all of the students in our great city. So we have a little over 19,000 students in the charter schools. We have a certain number of students that do not attend charter schools, private schools, or parochial schools, or the district schools. So we have a little over 55,000 plus students in the universe of children receiving an education who reside in Newark. About 55,000 are serviced by the district charter schools, the private schools that are in Newark, and obviously our parochial schools. And I embrace all of the exerted efforts and work of all of the students in all of the schools, and obviously all of the staff across the schools as well.
Let's talk about that one day. How do you bridge, like with a St. Benedict's or with a charter school? Do they all come across your desk at some point or another?
Not currently how it's structured, but the incredible work that is occurring across all of those schools is something that has been embraced. Initially, people thought, because of the pandemic, he's meeting with charter schools, private schools, and the parochial schools. No, it's part of the 10-year strategic plan. Embracing everyone, uniting our city, because there are children from Newark in all of those schools, and our collective efforts across the schools will only help elevate the whole entire city of Newark, which is what the goal ultimately is.
Okay, well, welcome back. I guess from summer. I guess it's time to say welcome back, Superintendent.
Well, I got
welcome back, but let's go to work.
I got two things to say. One is it don't look like John Austin is ever going to be able to retire. That's
I'm
one.
gonna deny it. That crosses my desk, and I'm gonna deny it.
So I don't think that's ever going to happen. And then two, I think I'm going to go back to high school. You know what I mean?
Come
It
on.
just sound like all these great opportunities in Newark. I'm going back to
Adult
high
out
school.
there, I know that doesn't apply to you, but if there's any adult over the age of 18 who is saying, oh my goodness, for whatever reason, school impacted me in a certain way, and I don't have my high school diploma, please know that the adult education program in the city of Newark will embrace assisting you. It's going to be an absolutely incredible experience when everyone who's an adult in Newark, regardless of your age, make sure that they have their high school diploma if that's something they really want, if that's something that they really need, and if they know that that's something that they could have always received. The Newark school system sends a strong message to adults. We are just in the preparation stages for all of you as well.
Yeah, and I'm born in 67. And Superintendent, I'm born in 67. I can say, I can remember in every neighborhood you can go to night school. So yeah, that's
exactly
beautiful.
Right. So we will not have to reinvent. We just have to do a couple of things that have been lost in the past.
That's right. Sorry, Zaid. Go ahead.
No, as you were. We want to wrap up now. We're getting close to the hour. It was a good solid hour.
I tell you, I wish those opportunities were available for my parents, man.
Yeah, I got a child that just graduated. I wish I could throw it back in there for 2 years.
Well,
I just simply say, Roger, man, we appreciate every time you come on. We appreciate the level of honesty and that whole conversation. I mean, just incredible, man. And all I can say is, wish you continued luck, and anything you need from us, all you got to do is reach out. And here's the other thing, offline, Rod got such swag. When you see him, he be walking through the community, right? Or he even show up at the men's meetings with such swag. Like wait a minute,
Representing.
that's
That's
the
right.
superintendent, right? But Rod just show up at all kind of places. Like, yo, I'm really from Newark, dude. I know how to come amongst my people. So that's
Just a kid.
offline, y'all.
Wait,
So,
just so that's a movie. That's a movie soon to come to our channels. Just a kid from Newark.
Right,
Okay.
and I know that
That's an
Ja
idea.
Rule has not changed, right? It
Yo,
is still Ja Rule.
Ja Rule. I was gonna give you a little, just play East Coast, West Coast with
Yes.
Kinda-
Well, I'm gonna
all
ask that
conversation.
question, Superintendent. Who got you through this summer, and who inspired you to come on the show tonight? Who is it? Still Ja Rule?
Absolutely, but I just know that nobody inspires me more than my mom. That's my
I've heard
girl.
you say that
So
before.
I have to put her in the mix because I
Yeah.
know she does. She does listen to All Politics Are Local, so I just gotta give her a shout out.
Wow.
But absolutely, Tupac's my guy.
Okay.
Well, most famous cover, the Black Panther Party. You're talking my talk there, Mr. Superintendent.
Okay.
Well, I want to also say, Roger, or Superintendent León, love you, right? You are, admire you, right? Like you are one of the smartest people I've ever met, and you love Newark as much as anybody I've ever met, right? Like you love this city, you bleed for this city.
He knows some smart people too, Roger. So that's a really great compliment.
Well, a lot. You meet a lot of and know a lot of people through debate, right? Like, and that these minds, right? Like, back from 14, workaholic, working harder than anybody else. The only thing I will say is, Roger, make sure you take care of your health.
That's right.
Make sure that
because we need you. We need you.
Make sure you get some sleep. Make sure you were drinking water. Because you were running up and down these steps. The number of programs that you described, a lot, and for real, I really do not remember in my lifetime so many new schools that have opened, so many new initiatives that are being tried, and you are definitely running as fast as you can to try to push opportunities that have not been before or not recently. So I appreciate that a lot, man.
I appreciate all of you for the time and the work that you all are doing by not interpreting what somebody is doing or thinking, but by simply asking them and then reporting what they say. I think that distinguishes you all from a whole lot of other people that like to blog about it.
Fair enough.
Well, Roger, we appreciate you, man, and like Jonathan said, we love you, and I'm honored to call you a brother. And listen, man, keep doing what you're doing, man.
Appreciate you, sir.
Yep. We're as you go out, and we are going to play the video one more time. But we'll talk to you later, man. And I'm
Share
serious.
a link for the video too when you
Stay
play it.
safe, everybody. First day of school, September 6th. Everybody to school and to school on time. Let's go.
All right.
We need the video. We need the visual.
Calling our future. Calling all artists, believers, deep thinkers, pioneers, poets, those who shift the culture deeper into the real, the authentic, the true. Calling those who believe first place is the only place. Those who achieve excellence and know there's still a long way to go.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Calling those who believe college prep starts with Head Start, and the graduation stage is just a launch pad to a lifetime of learning. Calling the dares, the brights, the brilliant, the beautiful, the whiz kids, the loners, bookworms, wallflowers. Calling all who fit out before they fit in.
也不管你说什么语言。
There's always a seat at the table.
Go, come on, push it.
Calling those who rise early and sleep late. Those who understand the work of shaping lives is more than a job. It's a calling. Calling the creatives, the inventors, trailblazers, difference makers. All who hear impossible and have to ask,
What is that?
no, seriously, what is that? Calling the great educators. Those who know that building something that lasts forever starts with that first brick. Calling all who get knocked down and keep rising. Who go through the ringer and return to peace, joy, and love always. Calling the next generation of designers, rocket scientists, world-class athletes, influencers, Pulitzer Prize winners, chess grandmasters, A-list actors, titans of industry, you name it. This is the place to be. Welcome to Newark Public Schools. Let's go to work.
Hey, thank you, man.
That is an awesome video, John. I need that.
Shay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Take care, man.
Thank you, Raj. That is an awesome video, man.
That is, man.
So
That is.
that was just your student at the podium.
Post that on our Facebook page, man.
Yeah,
I'll
I
do that.
put it in the chat so that it
okay.
can go up. I want
Okay. That's what you were asking us to
brother
post?
to post it up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that is an awesome video.
It's
Yeah,
inspiring.
it's inspiring, right? Like
Yes.
you got these Newark Public School students who do inspiring things,
Right.
Like
I would
I
would put that video up against anybody who promote their schools to put that up, man. On to promote what's going on in our city. But
Can you see? I can see superintendents looking at that video and be like, "Oh man, there he go again! Hurry up!"
but you know, before we introduce our next guest, I really do. I mean, when Roger comes on, I can't ever see my friend Jonathan retiring because it's just like, I mean, what he does is so important, and we can't see those kids not getting an opportunity to learn from him.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on that. I think that if you're a good teacher, you will train other people to come after you. I am trying to train.
You told me that.
Mini-me's.
But John,
yeah.
remember we talked about that with your friend.
Right, but I was not the first debate coach at Science Park High School. I will hopefully never be the last. Right?
Okay, so were you in Newark? Were you a debate student?
Yeah, I was a debater in high school.
Who was your teacher?
Brent Ferrin. Brent Ferrin was my high school coach, and Brent recruited me to come back and teach. Right, like I'm recruiting my students to come back and teach and coach. Some of my students will to come back and teach and coach. Some of my students will do other things, like I don't know, start tech startups, get into Bitcoin.
I told you as your student
like
comes
that.
on. Yeah, I met one of your students the other day, your public speaking class. So let me learn about Bitcoin, so I can let me get ready. Let's see.
I want to hear that.
Because now that Mayor Adams is turning New York currency into, so as New York goes, maybe the whole world will go.
Well, we're going to introduce our next guest. Our next guest is a young man, just recently graduated from high school, and he has his own, starting his own Bitcoin network that he's going to tell us about. Like he's done a lot of things. Like he's seen all over Newark, right? Like I've seen him do a lot of different things. He's actually, I've also seen him like on national news. He challenged Sean Puffy Combs, like just came for his neck. He was like, that's mine, right? And that was like, dang, Devin, that's cold, man.
What high school? You didn't mention his high school.
Yeah, what school?
Right.
Yes, he went to Science Park High School. He was a debater from Science Park High School. And yes, so I've known Devin for a while. That's why I said some of my students will come back in the coach debate. Others will start their own tech startups and give a lot of money back to debate at some point in their future, because we always, it's all about giving back to the past. So,
hey, Devin, okay. Did you hear he snuck that in, David?
I did.
And you're gonna come.
I did.
It's a lot of money back.
It's a theme. It's a theme. You always got to give back to debate, right? You always got to give back to the institutions that are there.
The art of fundraising. Now you are calling him Devin, but I see another phonetical name, Drixon. Drixon, is that how you pronounce it?
Not exactly, but you're close. How do I sound?
Okay.
You sound great.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I go by Drixon these days.
Drixon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm still cool with if you knew me as Devin, then I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
But you know, the reinvention of self was no, it wasn't. I had a very complicated history with my names.
Okay.
So you know, now I go by Drixon, and it's pretty fun.
So we're gonna call you what you want to be called, Drixon.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
So tell us, what are you doing? What is this Bitcoin thing? How are you involved in it? What is this tech startup that we're all so excited about? Because you're going to give us an education tonight. We don't know much. We know you're here, and we're like, wow, that's cool.
And does a Bitcoin look like a quarter?
Hey, Dixon, John on the sneak tip just called all of us old. So we don't know nothing about this.
Well, we're actually going to pivot to a topic.
I don't know a damn thing about it.
We'll be pivoting to a topic that we do know about. My tech startup is less Bitcoin and more group economics. That is our mission statement, that we've solved group economics. And you can kind of, I'll throw Austin, my coach, his flowers right now. You know, my introduction to the world of debates allowed me to read a lot of literature pertaining to, you know, Black people as a whole, and understanding that almost any and every policy that ever gets proposed will be bad for Black people at the end of the day. You know, unless it explicitly tries to address our issues, if you're not shining a light on our community, you're not helping us. And out of everybody, you know, in the country, we kind of need it. We deserve it. So I saw that and understood that, at least in the world of politics, it's pretty messy. So I'm going to have a tech company and build software solutions that allow us to address some of these issues.
Okay,
Questions,
and Drixon, and you started off with group economics, and we normally don't even hear anything pertaining to that until we get to the end of the year, beginning of the year around Kwanzaa. So tell me why the term group economics and how it fits into your plan.
Okay, so if you're not sure what group economics is essentially when a community, a group of people pool their money and their general resources together to essentially create new things and spend their money wiser. So we saw that, and if you do a simple Google search, everything pertaining to group economics, it's kind of surrounded with Black people. I personally feel like, compared to other communities, we as a people, we're not practicing group economics hard enough. You know, Black people don't work with other Black people enough, in my opinion. And we're not able to really, the capital that we do have, we're not able to spend it in the best manner possible. And I just want to preface this with, a lot of people say that Black people don't have money. No, we have money. We spend billions of dollars a year. You know, our capital, $1.3 trillion. I know it's 1.6 now in spending capital. But where does that money go? And how can we best maximize the use of that money so that we can, you know, build our communities and build better things?
Mm-hmm. And are you suggesting we start at home? What is your suggestion, that we start at home, do it, you know, how do we start? Where do we start?
Thanks for asking. I see it kind of three arms or pillars, you could say, three major sectors. One, social media, to have I guess you could say a social app, you know, a large community, a forum, a survey, whatever you want to call it, to run our socials, to be the ones that actually own the socials. Black culture kind of dominates TikTok, it dominates Instagram, it dominates Twitter. So what we built, or what we're building, one of the first arm is social media, creating a place where conversations and discussions pertaining to Black culture can happen. Number two is a Black business directory platform called Circulate. It is a place in which we can, a place where people can find Black businesses and support them and patronize them. And lastly, to have a wallet, payment processing software. Mm-hmm. So software where you can be incentivized to pay the Black-owned business that you found through the other service. So, you know, we're attacking these things head on. I mean, we've already actually launched it. You guys were just talking about Raz, the mayor. He was at our launch event for the wallet that pays people to shop at a Black-owned business.
Now, and do you have a website? Do you have something that you could put in the private chat that we can put on our page, or that we can and that we can show what you're talking about? That we can show right here.
Yes, so I will type it right now.
Okay.
So that is
Okay.
our handle for Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
And then that's the website. And you could
Okay.
actually download our apps. Like, I'm a software developer. So on iOS and Google Play, I will send you the name.
Okay.
So how did you get into software? Well, no, Don, ask the next question. You were going to ask a question.
No. You're good. I was going to say, can we circulate that along the bottom so that everybody can see this one?
Okay. How did you get into software development?
Yeah, it was post back in 2020. So I had just rounded out my junior year at science, and the George Floyd protest. I was up there in New York with my sister one day, and everybody was emotional in the country, and we just kind of started thinking, like, if George Floyd was inside of a Black-owned business, would they still have called the cops on him for a counterfeit $20 bill? And the answer, we feel, is most likely no. So then that question evolved into a conversation that was like, okay, how easy is it to even find a Black-owned business in your area? How do you do that? Seriously, Google it. Most people will Google it. So Google nowadays is like 3-4 ads, when you first search it, and nobody visits the second page of Google. So if your business isn't listed on the first page of Google within the first few search results, it'll be very, very hard for you to get some exposure. So we saw that need, and we started, we said, hey, we're going to do a case study on all the Black business directories in the country. Long story short, we weren't very impressed with what they had, whether it was the user interface, like how things looked were clunky and, the colors were a little off, or whether the UX, like the user experience, was bad. Or if things were outdated, like you try to call a Black-owned business on their site and nobody picks up, or it says, hey, we got shut down years ago. So that was kind of the starting point of the company.
Okay. And so where is it like now in terms of what types of, like, how large is it? Is it national? How many types of businesses can I find here?
Okay, so for this arm, just for Circulate the Black Business Directory, we have over 500 businesses. We are national. We've hit about 10,000 followers on Instagram. We've hit, I think, 25,000 on TikTok. And, our flagship city is Newark. We have partnerships with a lot of the businesses in the city, whether it's Brown Mill, Source of Knowledge, the Black Home, etc. And, we're constantly looking to build.
And you're an app. I can find you in the App Store too.
Yes, you could. So you could download. I mean, I prefer if you were to download the app. All the everything you see was programmed by myself.
Really nice.
Thank you.
I am absolutely going to be downloading this, and this will be on your app is going to be on my phone. Proud to do it, man. Proud to do it.
Downloading it now.
Yep, I'm going to download it as soon as the show ends. And
we gotta make sure you do circulate the app, because I see somebody has circulate app, but you're circulate the app. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. I like that a lot, and I will sign up for it, and be able to see what businesses are in the area. Now, are you working with the Black Chamber of Commerce?
So in Newark, we're actually we're currently working with Halsey Street, so the Halsey Street Business Association. Or I'm not sure, specifically how they've labeled it, but we're actually a chamber of commerce ourselves, like we're national. So I understand that there are conversations that we may or may not be able to have with the current National Black Chamber of Commerce, but my company we're not satisfied with the status quo at all, and we kind of look at certain companies who have become complacent with the status quo as, Austin called you guys old before, so I'm not going to call you guys old, but, I'm Gen Z. I was born in 2002. So I'm all about finding new solutions, asking a lot of the hard questions, and then just entering a space with a certain level of brashness, boldness, and a little I'm naive. So I'll do the things that most seasoned veterans wouldn't be too interested in doing.
I got a text question for you. Somebody just texted a question to me, and they wanted me to ask if you've heard of the bank Greenwood.com.
Oh man, I love Greenwood, and I'm smiling because our third branch, the wallets that we've developed out, we plan to partner with black banks like Greenwood.
Okay.
So you guys are familiar with Cash App, right?
Yes.
So
Cash App
imagine
and Zelle. Oh, right.
exactly Cash App, Zelle, and the like. Imagine if you had a Cash App that paid you to shop at a black-owned business and used a black bank to kind of fund that. It would be it'd be very interesting.
And are you familiar with is it United, the online bank, the online largest black bank, United Bank? Are you familiar with them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And they've kind of with their debit cards and everything, they have their artwork is all black artwork and everything, so they present themselves as a black business. So you're familiar? Have you seen their ATM debit cards?
I don't think I'm familiar with their debit cards, but
Let me see.
I've heard about them. I read about them.
Okay, I think I'll show you. But go ahead, next question. But I want you to tell us a little bit. How do we get involved? You heard Mayor Adams in New York say that he was going to, I believe, use Bitcoin as a form of currency, and that sounds so foreign to many people. How on a day to day, how do you use Bitcoin as currency?
Bitcoin is. I'm actually not really in the pro Bitcoin camp because it fluctuates a lot. What we're, I told Austin this is a cryptocurrency play at the very end of the day. There are certain things called stable coins, like stable coin, and its value is pegged to the US dollar, which means that it doesn't, it's not as, it doesn't go up and down as much as Bitcoin does. So I love what Bitcoin, the idea and what it represents, but the crypto space is cluttered. There's a lot of stuff going on. So that kind of strengthens the idea of having a black-owned token and having something that's a little bit more streamlined, something that you know for a fact that if you use our token, you get 15% more money to spend at a black-owned business, and so on and so forth.
Break this down for me, because no, Donna, you can ask the question.
Okay, so if you flash on to me, this is One United's debit card right here, and and being able to see things visual is very important. So I just wanted to show you that. So it's One United, and they're the largest online black bank.
Interesting.
Okay,
so it's having the representation and being able to see our own artwork on your debit card or your credit card, it is it wasn't like that 10 years ago.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to say, you talked about a token, a black token, and so the difference between cryptocurrency and the token that you're talking about is that cryptocurrency is its own value, right? Like, as in, it can go up.
Slow down.
Value, whereas
there's different types of, in the world of cryptocurrency, you'll hear about things called coins and tokens. A token is very similar to a coin, except it does not exist on its own blockchain. The blockchain is just kind of like the host, like the website, all the computers that hold it up. So if you have a token, that means that you don't have your own blockchain, and that means you don't have a bunch of computers supporting it. Anyways, of that, for certain tokens and coins, you have things called stable coins, which, pegged to the US dollar, they're a lot more reliable. You have things called meme coins, as in like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, whereas, it's a meme, it's kind of a joke, and people just kind of shill. Like, their values are just, they don't really have a utility. There's no point in having them. And then you have the Bitcoins of the world, coins that struggle to find utility, but the values are, they skyrocket. So I'm not saying that Bitcoin is a cool play, but for right now, during this crypto winter, I would advise people to just kind of look at stable coins.
Right. So, Drixon, you're talking like a whole nother language. If you wanted to make it so like a step by step how to invest, what would be the first like a 5-step? What would be the first thing? Like go to your website, and what would be the safest way to do it? Like, should I tie it to my bank account, invest $25 a week? How would you suggest going about getting involved?
So part of our play is all the the word salad, or the I guess not understanding the crypto language can be very janky, and people just kind of make terms up nowadays. It's actually pretty funny once you kind of get into it. For us, our company we offer people 15% more to spend at a Black-owned business, and of those profits from the businesses using our wallets, we pay dividends to our investors. That's kind of the gist of it. So if you would be interested in that, I suggest reaching out to us socially. We're on Instagram, and I already linked that below. And if they want, I could give out my personal email. But we can kind of just walk people step by step through the process and kind of show them how it makes sense to them. Cryptocurrency is full of a lot of hype and speculation, and what makes my project, I guess you could say, different is that we actually offer utility. We have a payment processor that you can use right now at a Black-owned business.
Wow. All right. So, Donna, what are the questions that you have in terms of some of the, what are the terminology, right? Like, you were like, hey, I don't understand any of this stuff. Like what you said just sounded like another language. Like they were speaking a language I wasn't understanding. So, how does this, the app, everybody understands, you plug in, it's like a Google search for Black businesses.
Exactly.
The how to use the tokens to get discounts, that seems a little bit like well, what are we doing? What's going on here? So how would me and Donna be able to use this? Without feeling that we're just giving our money to people we can't see and it'll just disappear. And we're like, oh my God, will the money disappear? It just, talk to me.
Okay, cool. So we're currently in our pre-seed raising angel phase. I think that the best thing would be to have a separate conversation with me, I guess, off air. And anybody and everybody watching this, you could also reach out to me. We're doing a very slow deployment and a rollout, but you could the wallet, the crypto wallet, and all that stuff, it actually lives inside of Circulate. And I would just kind of suggest just browsing around the app a little bit. It's a directory first, and then we have the wallet and things. We've designed it to where it's pretty case forward. You can kind of get it just like that. If you're familiar with Cash App, you'll understand the wallet just like that.
Wow. So, and Donna?
Go ahead.
So basically with the second app, with the second thing, it's not finished yet, but it's in the process of that. And you'll come back on and you'll talk to us about it because you're raising seed money, et cetera, for it.
Mm-hmm. So it's, yes, it's finished in terms of complete, like it's in the App Store. I mean,
the tech is good.
Yeah, the tech is good, but forging those relationships with businesses is what I, as an entrepreneur.
Oh, in other words, the discounts.
Yeah, well, making sure that they understand when you start talking money. So, like for example, I can put anybody on Circulate by myself. I can, just like how Google will sign up every business, sign up your business on Google,
right?
Because it's just a directory. But once you start talking money and discounts and coupons and this and that, that's when things get a little bit more. You need contracts, you need things in writing. So yeah, we're currently in the phase of finishing all of our contracts with the businesses in Newark, and then doing an outreach program nationwide. We'll go through to the 12 most populous cities in America with the highest amount of Black people per capita, Black population, and we'll put boots on the ground. We'll sign up agents. They'll go door to door. They'll get people to sign up for the wallet.
And how many people do you have in your organization?
Right now, it's just a few. I have, I guess, work on the day to day. It's just me, but I have a whole bunch of advisors. So, I have it's got the office I'm at right now, Antonio Hawthorne. He's a pretty cool guy. I have Mayor Baraka. He's one of my advisors. I just came back from Martha's Vineyard with him a few days ago. Elisa Gill, I talked to her a lot. So, I part of, I guess, the charm of, I'm talking about the company, we're doing this, we're doing that, but it's also, as a potential investor, you want to invest in the right person. You want to invest in a personality, somebody with a large network. And these past 2 years, I spent a lot of time crafting that out, forging relationships, networking. So yeah, there's a lot of more work to do, but future's bright.
So Drixon, you had the opportunity to go to Martha's Vineyard with Mayor Baraka. You had the opportunity to talk to possibly some people up there that had some very old money. Did you make because there's a lot of there's a lot of old money up there, and people who have been making money for a long time. Did you network, and did you make any good relationships up there?
Yes. So yeah, that's going up to the vineyard. That's not my first rodeo with the mayor. You guys are familiar with Raz and 60, his podcast,
right?
So I was a guest on that last year, around December. I've spoken at his men's meetings that I think you guys also mentioned, and short story or short answer, I got some connections. I meet with Prudential on the 7th. I meet with Aisha from Audible next week. I tapped into the old money a little bit.
Okay, good for you.
And we have someone on that you also know. We talked about the young people having tech startups, and wanted to definitely have you on the show at the same time. Welcome, Amit Kukreja, to All Politics Are Local, and you also have a tech startup, Audea. I hear something. What is this, like the YouTube of audio? Like
that's a great way to describe it. Yep, that's what we got.
All right. So what is this? And you're also a Newark, former Newark student. You're also from Science Park High School. Also debated for Science Park. So cool. I think that's awesome, right? Like having young people who are doing stuff who are here. So what is this YouTube of audio? What has just happened with you? I think you raised some money. You're getting ready to get started. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for having me on, Austin. Great to talk to you again. It's been a while, so happy to be here. I graduated Rutgers Business School May 2020, and by October 2020, I was like, I don't want to get a job. I want to start a startup. And so when you make that proclamation to the world, you then actually have to go do some crazy stuff to go build a startup. And so it's been 2 years. Basic idea of the startup, to sum it up, I think there's a massive gap in the market that Spotify and Apple, which are the big audio conglomerates, and Audible aren't really dealing with, which is the discovery of audio content. We're now living in a world where everyone wants their content to get discovered, because the more people discovering it, the more opportunities you have to monetize it, have bigger things happen as a result of having a bigger audience. So the platforms control the gateway towards people being able to access new audiences: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, which is why they're the biggest, $100 billion companies in the world, because they facilitate the ability for you to find an audience. If you build the thing that helps people find an audience and you make it really good, that thing becomes very big. In the audio market in particular, I don't think the major platforms are necessarily doing that. And some investors have tended to agree with us. So we just finished a raise of about $300,000 over the past 6 months. We've been raising from investors. That got completed a couple weeks ago. And so now we're out and we're starting to build the product. We have about 2,000 users. People have posted over 10,000 times on the platform. The core idea of the platform is, can we do what YouTube did for video, which is make it searchable and discoverable for audio? And if we can do that, I think there's millions of podcasters and poets and comedians and musicians and all these different types of creators that could use our platform to get their content discovered. And if we do that, it could potentially be really big.
Can we see your platform?
Yeah, 100%. I will share my screen.
Drop it in the private chat.
So the name of it is called Audea, stands for Audio Idea. And what I'm about to do right now is log in, share my screen.
And put it in the private chat too.
Put it in our private chat and we can lift it up.
Okay, cool. So there's
that's about all the technology I know.
Okay.
Austin, I'm sharing my screen right now. So if you
okay.
Oh, you got it up already. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this is what it looks like. So it's almost very similar to YouTube, in which these are static thumbnails and titles. So when you click on one, it's not going to be a video. It's just going to be the audio. And what we're doing right here on this homepage is more than what Spotify and Apple are doing, quite frankly, for audio creators. And the reason for this is because, so let's pick one of these. Let's go there. Stranded, the disappearance of, it's the fifth one, fifth audio right on there. So this is a mom and daughter who host a true crime podcast. And if you go to Spotify's homepage, the true crime podcast that's going to pop up is a Spotify exclusive original. Why? Because Spotify spent $800 million in the past 3 years, essentially becoming a Netflix of audio. And what that means is they are spending a lot of money for content to give to the end consumer. That's going to be high quality, premium, all that stuff. But this mom and daughter that do a true crime podcast are never going to get discovered on Spotify's platform organically. And that's what we're trying to solve. Because, for example, Spotify paid Joe Rogan $100 million. If you give a guy $100 million, you're not putting Jonathan Alston's podcast on the front page of Spotify if you're not making any money off Jonathan Alston. So my idea was, what if we reverse that narrative? What if we make a user-generated content platform where one day Jonathan Alston wants to upload his podcast to Audea, and we're actually rewarding him with discovery? And I think if we can do that at scale, then it becomes a really big product that one day Spotify is going to have to pay a lot of money to buy out.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Okay. And
Austin, you're on mute right now.
Can you just tell? Where does the name come? Audea. Why are we calling it Audea? Because I think there's something about catchy names or something.
That's a great question. I had the original pitch deck for this. I made it in October 2020, and I needed to send it to my old business school professor, who, by the way, never responded to the pitch deck. So I didn't want to be unprofessional and send him a pitch deck send him a company with no name, because then he'd be like, this kid doesn't know what he's doing. So I thought for a second. I was like, what should I name this company? And I was like, well, it's about ideas, and they're in audio format. And I stared at those two words for like 2 hours, and I was like, I'll call it Audea. And I just sent the email. Okay. And then when I started talking to users, it actually stuck. They liked the name. So I was like, all right, that's the name.
Okay, cool. Okay, gotcha.
And so I liked having both of you on here at the same time, because both of you are in different stages of fundraising, right? And different stages of basically raising capital, right? Am I correct that
you are 100% correct? It is hard to get an idea off the ground unless you have external capital from people that are willing, that share your vision of what the idea could be, whether it's a nonprofit or a business. And the communication skills that is required in convincing them is really difficult. And I think what I did in debate, and Austin, you're basically the reason I have $300,000 today. I mean, I haven't talked to you, Austin, in the past 6 months, but I have been in meetings with some of the most richest people in the country and in the world to get them to give 5, 10, 50. Let me tell you a story. We had an investor who said, let me see the pitch deck. Sent him the pitch deck. 30 minutes later, he wires me $25,000. It's those are the type of people that I've been in meetings with, that like $25,000 is pennies to them. And for me, it's like, it's the absolute world. And so the way I got into those meetings, which I'm pretty sure was going to be your question, was I ended up building an audience on YouTube starting November 2021. I scaled it to about 10,000 subscribers by February 2022. And as a result of that audience, I one day just asked them, hey guys, I have a startup. If anyone's interested, email me. And a lot of people ended up emailing me. And from there, I got into a lot of different meetings with different investors. But raising capital is one of the most important things to get an idea off the ground, because it's really hard to do it without it.
Wow. Okay. So is there advice that you give to each other? Like Drixon, is there advice that you give to Amit? Amit, is there advice that you give to Drixon?
Well, I don't think. My advice, or I guess what we're doing. I spent years just getting my network together for the city of Newark, because it makes sense for my product. Black Business Directory in Newark. This tri-state area is the highest amount of Black people per capita in the country. So And what works for us, which is honing in us on a specific area and then kind of expanding and expanding, doesn't necessarily work for him because he had to launch a national, he YouTube channel, launched it nationally, and then to use that and have his audience and his people he networked with propel him outwards. But yeah, it's I wonder, could you call Audea when you explain it to people just the Google refining podcast? 'Cause that's what I say.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it the YouTube of audio. I think we called it that. The one, and this gets really technical, the one differentiation between us and the other major players is we don't use RSS feeds for distribution, which is what all the other platforms do. And that's just the technical term for how people find podcasts. Everything that we have is proprietary to us, meaning you have to upload an Audea into the platform in order for us to algorithmically curate it. But yeah,
how are you there? Do you have a technical co-founder?
Yeah, so I have a CTO. He lives in California, and I'm more of the marketing, business, communications guys, and he's the other 50% of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's Mr. Austin. That is one of the pain points for startups is if they don't have a stable technical co-founder. Like I had to become our technical co-founder. If they don't have somebody who understands programming, coding, making the website, designing it, then things get very, very hard, especially for a guy who had a great idea like Amit.
Yeah, I think the similarity here, even though one is more of a national campaign, one is more a little local focus, is at the end of the day, you have to build the network. And I did mine through YouTube, and he's done his through more talking to the people who are in the local community. But once you have that network, then you got to go for the ask. And when you go for the ask, then it becomes a question of like, how do I translate this vision of this world of a Black business directory or a YouTube of Audea to this person who is probably on the same page with me, but to get them to give money to that's the hardest thing in the world. And I think that just comes down to like the passion and energy that you explain it with.
Yeah, you transfer the passion, inspire them, and then at the very end of the day, appeal to the greed. People are greedy. If you say, hey, I will triple your money in 6 months, then we have a conversation.
And so
now, I wanted to ask Amit and Drixon, wallet, is that an app? Is the wallet an app and is Audea an app? Audea?
Yes. Yep.
It isn't. I can go into Play Store and find it as an app?
Yeah, if you just type in audea.io on the Play Store, it'll pop up, and then on the App Store, it's just AUDEA.
Okay. And Drixon, and what about going back to Drixon, is the wallet an app as well?
So yes, the wallet is currently deployed within Circulate. So if you have Circulate, the app, download it on your phone, then you can access the wallet from there.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So, all right. So DJ Rhino, are you here?
Yeah, you can hear me?
We can hear you. So two things. First, Amit, Drixon, one, thank you for coming out. I think that you really educated us, right? Like in terms of a lot of what you were doing. I like the fact that the way in which you are making pitches. You are using communication, but you're tech, right? You are the future of big tech, right? Like in terms of what you're doing in your generation. So I definitely appreciate your stories. I want to hear more of them, right? Like at some point we're going to have to get you back on. So you could tell us more about the stories of how do you build? What are some of the things that you went from concept to where you are now? But also, are you guys keeping journals or diaries of your stuff, like in terms of going from these different stages?
Yeah, I keep it well documented. My brief. It's very interesting when everybody says they want one thing, and then when you actually do it, and people are just like, it's a pretty interesting reaction. But until you do it, until you go, I guess, to the moon, as they say, it's a steady grind. It's a constant grind. And when people ask me, would you tell people to become an entrepreneur? Sometimes I have to second guess my answer. But I can't wait to come back on the podcast. And also I'll see you Monday, because they start debate camp.
Oh, true. Yes. All right. And Amit, what do you have to offer us on that end?
So I have a YouTube channel, and we are I have a team with me from a videography perspective, and we've been vlogging the journey and all the things we did. You know what I did I actually said the word startup 50,000 times in a row for 6.5 hours yesterday. Why did I do it? Well, sometimes you got to do some things that are different, and one day it's gonna matter in a meeting when I say that I actually did that. So it was live streamed. I can send my YouTube channel. You guys can check it out.
DJ Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
These young entrepreneurs, can you ask them the most important question of this interview?
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, when you're getting into what it is that you do, what do you look for when you need hip hop inspiration? When you need some kind of hip hop inspiration, some kind of musical inspiration from the hip hop culture to inspire you to do what you do, to keep going on in what you do, what do you pull out? Who's an artist that sticks with you when you're doing what you're doing? Either one could start.
So I've been recently bumping the latest Joey Badass.
Okay.
That's been just the 2000s has just absolutely been Before the Money is top 5 hip hop albums of all time for me. I know that might be controversial, but that album in 2014, I mean, that was just amazing for me. So Joey Badass is a recent one, and then the other day, just old Hove just pulled out Jay-Z, and you look at Jay-Z's career, and it's just the first album was at 26. No one thought he would do it, and then he did it again and again and again. So I think Jay would be the guy for me.
Right.
Excellent answer. I listen to pretty much all genres and in my own personal life. But when it comes to startup culture, I need to feel good. I need something that's going to make me feel happy, make me want to groove, put me in a good mood instantly, just like that. So whether it's hip hop, whether it's French electronica, whether it's Japanese city pop, I need something that's going to make me want to dance, and or just inspire me. It's a very hard world out here. It's a hard knock life. But being able to, I love my tunes, I love my music, and I should probably listen to more podcasts. But I just DJ, if you could put me in a good mood, you got me, just like that.
So now, out of the hip hop stuff, who would you say that you listen to?
Out of hip hop, I like Foggy Raw. He's more so into mumble rap, but I like Fabio Foreign, so New York drill music.
Love that.
It's nice. Regular, Drake, Lil Yachty, Future, but it's and I'm a huge fan of Pop Smoke. Huge fan. That's my guy. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. What's up?
Great set.
All right, so thank you so much for coming on.
Fascinating, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're going to have you back. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Drixon. Thank you, Amit. And we will definitely have you back on and follow your journeys. Your journeys are very interesting. You want to follow them, and proud of you both.
Drixon, you're in college right now?
Yeah, I just finished my first year at Montclair.
Okay, awesome. I love it. That's great. I'm 4 years older than you, so that's awesome. You're getting a head start. Yep. I love it.
Part of the reason why I wanted you to have you on the show is for you to connect again, because I think that you'd have a lot of lessons and a lot of conversations that the two of you could understand. That I think that you'd have fun with. So I think all those opportunities to learn from each other and grow from each other is always.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, also send me Amit's contact.
I just found you on Instagram. I'll give you a follow right now. And
all right, cool.
Talk.
All right, cool. I'll talk to you soon, and I have to learn how to use Instagram. So there's that.
All right, bye guys. Thank you.
All right, later. All right, DJ Rhino, what's up?
What's going on?
Not much. How are you? What is the state of hip hop, my brother?
Hanging in there, man. I'm doing all right. First off, I want to say happy birthday to Fat Joe from the Boogie Down Bronx. It's his born day today. So big ups to Fat Joe, Joey Crack. Also, speaking of birthdays, today it's also Romeo Miller. Y'all might remember him as Little Romeo.
Yes.
That's Master P's son.
Yeah.
His birthday today as well. My personal, one of my brothers, one of my DJ inspirations, my brother DJ R Train from Hidden Descent, Ground Control, OGV Family, Operation Good Vibes. He's one of my brothers that I rock with on the weekends on Twitch. And I mean, we grew up together. I mean, since we were like, you know, in our preteens, we were doing it. So happy born to my brother R Train as well. Yesterday we had a birthday for Master Killer of Wu-Tang. It was his birthday yesterday. So I want to give him a happy born. Also, within the week's span on the 11th of August, we got to say happy born to hip hop, the culture of hip hop. That was the first time, the first documented party, hip hop party at 15 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx, and Cool Herc's building in the rec center. His sister Cindy Campbell was actually the one who helped throw the party, and Cool Herc did his thing. He did his merry-go-round technique on the turntables, and you had the break dancers coming there, and the whole culture just kind of started from there. Again, this is the first documented. It's not to say that other parties weren't happening, but this is the first documented one that we say this is where it started, you know, for hip hop. So big ups to hip hop. Salute Cool Herc. He's a living legend, living icon, you know, for our culture. And big ups to all the pioneers that set it off for everybody in the culture and paved the way. You know, so big ups to them too.
Rhino, did you get all the information about the hip hop? I was sending you about the hip hop, all the stuff that they was doing in New York. I think that might have been Cool Herc's sister selling off some of his stuff that was auctioning it off.
Yeah, they were doing a lot of stuff on that day, on the 11th. There was a lot. I was watching Grandmaster Kaz from the legendary Cold Crush 4. He was actually he was traveling to all 5 boroughs of New York City and just speaking to people in the different neighborhoods about hip hop culture. He would speak to some of the icons, some of the legends, some of the pioneers that did it. You know, he was in Harlem. He was at Queensbridge. You know, of course, he was up in the Bronx. He was at 1520. Matter of fact, when he was in the Bronx at 1520 Sedgwick Ave, KRS-One was there. Curtis Blow was there. The Mighty Mike C from the Fearless Four was there. But Mayor Eric Adams also showed up, and he gave a speech, man. It was really down to earth, man. Just showed you how he's really connected to New York City. You know, from his youth. You know what I mean? He didn't. You know, if anybody's seen the documentary Supreme Team, he's in the documentary talking about how he was a member of the Seven Crowns, which was a street group back in the day. You know, in uptown in New York. So you know he's part of the culture. He was raised on hip hop. So you know, so big ups to Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City. But he showed up. You know, they had a big hip hop cake. You know, they had the mayor cut, and you know, it was a beautiful thing. But it was good to see Kaz go to the different boroughs and speak to different people. I mean, he was speaking to people. I don't know if y'all remember the dance, but I don't know if y'all remember the song called "The WAP."
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was talking to B Fats. He went when he was in Queens. He was talking to Mikey C. Mikey C was the cat that LL started with in the streets. He was rapping with, you know, and that was LL's old partner. You know what I'm saying? So he spoke to Mikey C. It was just good to see him, you know, speak to people that, you know, you totally forgot about in hip hop. I mean, it's been so many years. It's going to be 50 years next year. You know, so yeah, big ups to the culture of hip hop and everybody that's contributed to that culture. It's still going on today. It's what controls the world today. You know what I'm saying? And the music side of it has become $1 billion business. You know what I mean? So big ups to hip hop culture, man. We're gonna keep growing all of the elements, not just rap music, but everything. We're gonna keep growing it and keep building it up, and letting it be known and recognized around the rest of the world and to upcoming generations as well. Also, a big thing that took place on the 6th was the Rock the Bells Festival, which was really huge. It took place at Forest Hills, Queens. You know, of course, this was all backed up by LL Cool J and his whole Rock the Bells franchise. You know what I mean? He's doing everything with Rock the Bells right now. He's got Rock the Bells radio. He's got clothing line. He's got everything going on. He's including everybody from every element of hip hop, from every generation of hip hop. He's including everybody, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I remember years ago, being a little frustrated, like, man, LL's been around so long. He's so big. How come he's not doing more than just being a rapper? How come he's not, I was at that time, I was expecting him to own a record label or something like that. That wasn't in his plans, obviously. What his plans was something bigger to contribute to the culture, to keep it going. And, I want to big ups LL for keeping the culture strong from the beginning days. I mean, he's really, like I said, he's really pulling them in the pioneers. He has a lot of the pioneers that's on his radio station, as radio personalities now. He's got Sha Rock and Grandmaster Caz. He's got Scorpio from the Furious Five. Of course, he's got Cool V and Roxanne Shante. So he's got a lot of people. He's got Bun B doing the trill music. So it's
and his wife is in her own right. She has a whole jewelry line and everything. So
right. Yeah. So they're doing.
And she did it with Mary J. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Now I wasn't able to go to the fest, but I definitely got to see all of the highlights of what took place, all of the performances that took place. The only performance I didn't see, I believe, was the very first one with Mr. C and Lost Professor. But I saw Diggable Planets. I saw Trina. Diggable Planets and Trina, their time was cut short, and I have a feeling that it was because it was still early in the show. They were like the first ones to come on. It was still early. The place hadn't been filled up yet, and I'm sure they wanted to make sure that the bigger acts at the end, which was basically LL, Q, Busta Rhymes, wanted to make sure that they got there full time, especially LL because he had a huge, like his show was the longest of everyone, of course. So I'm sure they're just trying to keep everything, in the right lineup as far as the time. But Diggable Planets did their thing. Of course, they did Rebirth the Cool. Trina did a thing. She came out. She did like a medley, a small. Like I said, her time was cut short. So she did like a medley, a short medley of some of her songs. But what I did like about all of the performances that I saw was that everybody was in pocket. Everybody was in pocket. Everybody did a good job. Little Kim came out there, and she had Little C's with her. She had Havoc from Mobb Deep was out there with her. But it was just good to see Little Kim out there. And she was just really in pocket. She was really in control of her show. You know what I'm saying? And you could tell that, sometimes Little Kim will come out there. She almost seems like she's being supported by the others that are around her. But this time you can kind of feel even though she had others around her, you could tell she was on her. She was really in pocket on this one. So it was good to see that. Same thing with Dipset. When Dipset came out there, because a lot of people, people still think about the verses with Dipset. You know what I mean? So, now Dipset kind of got this, this shadow on them. But nah, they came out there. Jim Jones, Joel Santana came out there. Cameron, they all came out there, and again, they were in pocket, and they really did their thing. It was just good to see everybody out there doing their thing like that, man. Fat Joe, Remy Ma, they came out there. They represented for Big Pun.
Was Big Pun son there?
Big Pun's, I'm not sure, but I know Scarface was there, and Scarface brought his son up on stage because Scarface, when he was going through COVID, man, he went through it bad, and he dealt with a kidney failure.
Okay.
And so his son was the one that actually donated his kidney to his pops. You know what I'm saying? So his son saved his life. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he brought his son out on stage and showed him some love on stage. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. Scarface ain't lose nothing. He did all of his hits, man. He still sounds good. Still sounds like himself. Lost a lot of weight, man. You know what I'm saying? But I know some of that was necessary in what he was dealing with. He was dealing with a lot of health issues even before COVID. So it was good to see Scarface out there healthy and well. Nori came out there. Nobody thought they was going to see Nori get on stage because he's always talking about how he's never rapping again. He's Mr. Podcast now, Mr. Drink Champs. So nobody thought they was going to see Nori go out there, but he actually went out there and did all his hits. You know what I'm saying? It was just good to see Nori in the place as well. Busta Rhymes, of course, murdered the place. I mean, you could end it right there after Busta Rhymes. You know what I mean? But of course, after Busta Rhymes, it was Ice Cube, which was dope to see Ice Cube get all that love from the East Coast, from Queens, New York, and just giving that West Coast king his love. You know what I'm saying, in Queens. So that was a beautiful thing. He had Dub C up there with him. Of course, you know what I'm saying. They always bouncing off of each other. Dub C up there doing his crip walk. But Cube did all his hits. He ended it off with "Today Was a Good Day," which is a nice little send off. You know what I mean? And then your man LL went up there and killed it. He did all. Let me tell you, he did his hits. But the thing that really tripped me out about LL, he didn't just do his hits. He also did songs off like album cuts. He did album cuts that weren't hits, that weren't singles or anything. But I was just surprised to hear him pull those songs out and do them. He did them though. Hard body joints. He came out there and knocked those out. Then of course he killed it with all of the songs that the ladies love. You know what I'm saying? He did all of that. He was talking about he didn't want to go out like as the love song dude, but come on, we know ladies love.
Must go out. That's a good way to go out.
Yeah, well, I have been out of pocket for the last 2 weeks, but I know they had the Lincoln Park Music Fest this year. Did you make it down to hip hop?
I didn't make it. I was out on White Plains at the time, but I heard Redman was down there. He shook it up. Do It All was on stage.
All right, we'll do it next week, so we'll make sure we go and talk about that next week because it's good to have that back. And sad that I missed it.
24 hours.
Yeah, I was mad I missed it too.
Yeah, we lift up 24 hours apiece next week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to bring up. Yeah, let's keep lifting that up. 24 hours apiece. September 2nd going into the 3rd.
Okay.
It's hosted by Queen Latifah. Faith Evans is going to be there. Fabulous is going to be there. There's a lot of people.
FABOLO.
Yeah. Hakeem Green. He's always posting up the new additions to the lineup. So just
hold on. Wait. DJ Rhino.
What's up?
Did you say my wife Faith Evans was going to be there?
Yeah, Faith Evans is going to be there, bro.
She'll know where your wife is at.
Like Queen Latifah is one of my favorite people, by far. Queen Latifah, one of my favorite people of all time. She's like
that's going to be huge.
Human beings on the planet. She's amazing.
I like
Faith Evans. Yeah, that's.
Tell Shaq we need to come and get him to do some bars.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. No. Maybe not bars. Maybe. Come on, Shaq knows. It's not. He knows he shouldn't be doing bars. He should. No, he knows. He knows that's wrong. He knows.
He stick to pizza and basketball.
You got a hip hop history. He can,
Well, Shaq always represents for the bricks, though. I gotta give him.
And
he does. He has a nice place where Science High used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to also next week. I had an opportunity to watch Respect and Elvis, and I would. I don't know if all of us have watched Respect and Elvis, but
you could bring it up.
But no, I just want us to talk about it next week, Rhino. If you get a chance to watch it, because Memphis, it really highlighted Memphis and Beale Street, and then and the impact that had on his life, and that was so it made me. I've always wanted to go to Memphis, and I haven't done it, so it's kind of reignited my love and desire to get to Memphis.
However, it is 9:00.
I'm just playing Ed's role.
I know you're playing Ed's role. You're doing what Ed's been doing. Just extending it. Yeah, that's fair. That's right there. We talk about you.
Rhino, did you get your last word? And I'm sorry.
Yes. So, Rhino.
No, that's it. I mean, just keep posting for that 24 hours a piece and everything else, man. It's going on, and like I said, there's always some new additions to it. So,
right.
That's it though.
All right, so if you can, so we can have a full half hour of hip hop because music is just a lot has been going on. So let's just do some music stuff. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, I guess this is All Politics Are Local. We are ending off this week.
And just to come out in the neighborhood because the mayor's coming through Newark tomorrow.
Right. Well, we'll be out again next week. There'll be a lot of peace stuff going on, man. The march tomorrow for peace. We've got, and we've got the 24 hours of peace coming in 2 weeks. Right. DJ Rhino will give you the last word.
I also just want to say rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. He also had a birthday on the 15th.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. And good night.
Peace.